Hello, everybody. Welcome in to episode number 5 of Talk Footy to Me, the podcast. Welcome in. My name is OfficialH2. If you're here on Twitch, welcome everybody. If you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, I'm joined by my brother, my lovely friend, my co-host, my mentor, my sage, whatever you want to call him. Introduce yourself, Mr. Mykal87, if you don't know already.
Welcome in, everybody. Mykal87. Oh, I need to mute your stream. Oops. Pro. We've been doing this for a while.
It's fine. Pro podcasters.
You guys can hear me, right? You can hear me?
I think so. I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't hear you now.
Oh, you can't hear me? There we go. Can you hear me? I was muted. I'm so dumb.
We're good.
Everyone can hear you, and if you guys can hear me.
Everything's going good?
Yep. There we go.
We're pros at this. Yep. This is only the fifth episode.
5, not 500. We'll get better, I promise.
Yeah. But yeah, welcome in, everybody. We got a full slate of stuff to go over today. The continued love and support. Episode 1's almost at 100 views on
insane.
YouTube, by the way, which you and I never would have thought that an episode would have reached it that fast. So we're really, really excited about that. We've hit a huge milestone in the Spotify category. I just got notified by our Spotify thing that we've reached, I think it's 15 downloads. Wow. Which is downloads, not just listens. That means 15 people have downloaded on Spotify, which
Legends.
I know seems like a really small number, but when people actually are going out of their way to download our content, that's huge to me. So
I mean, I think you touched on this the first time. We expected me and you and maybe our girlfriends and a couple of family members. Yeah. I mean, this has been unbelievable, and from the bottom of both of our hearts, thank you. And it's just, we have such a good time doing this, and I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying it as well. It seems you're enjoying it at least, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Which I'm working hard. I've heard comments in my chat. Mm-hmm. I think I've seen a few in your chat as well. Mm-hmm. I'm working hard on getting this on Apple Music because I know some people prefer Apple Music over the podcast or over Spotify. I'm working hard. I have a nice long phone call planned with Apple on Saturday to figure it out on why they're not letting our account register, but I'm getting it done. It's in the works, I promise.
And also,
so is TikTok, by the way.
TikTok, exactly. So actually, it's a bunch of stuff, and I need to at least update links in my chat, which I will do so. But we have a Talk Footy to Me podcast Twitter as well, and a TikTok. Obviously, there's nothing on the TikTok yet, but we're trying to get this to as many channels and avenues as we can. So we'll keep you guys posted. But again, thank you so much for the support, and stay tuned for lots of exciting things coming with this little adventure that we're on. But with that being said, I think we can jump right into today's episode. Are you good with that, Michael?
I am. I'm excited. We have, a laundry list of things to go over because absolutely nothing exciting happened in the world of football.
This was the most boring weekend I can remember. Yeah.
Unless you're a Messi or a Ronaldo fan, or
Yeah, or many other clubs, which we will talk about. But we wanted to start off with a different bit of a vibe today. So obviously, mostly what we've been doing is kind of covering the week's action and then looking forward to the next week and talking about transfers and stuff. We have a little bit of a side thing to start with today, and I think it's something that's... it's not side
thing. It's a big thing in football.
It is a huge thing in football. I mean, it's more different from the, here's what happened, and this is our thoughts. This is something it's more of a debate almost in a way. Would love to hear thoughts from everyone in Michael's chat as well as in my chat, what you guys think about this. But of course, if you guys don't know, we are talking about the 30-man shortlist for the Ballon D'Or that got released this past week. And I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this. So we've seen some of the names on here, and I'll share the link in both our channels here if you guys want to follow along.
Do we want to start with the names that are on the list, or do we want to start with the one name that's not on the list? And the name is... That's the only name that anybody cares about that's not on the list.
It's not clickable. Okay. So exactly. So that's the thing. So firstly, you see that Cristiano Ronaldo makes the shortlist, and as Michael's soundbite, which I hope you guys heard. Sorry, apparently the link I'm sending is not clickable, but I tried my best. I'm sorry, guys. But basically, I think most of you have seen the list already. Exactly. So Ronaldo makes it, Messi doesn't, and
that's the big. Go ahead, because I have.
Yeah. So
I'm excited about this topic.
So for me, and a lot of times it may come across that I'm a Messi fan or this or that. I've always said that I appreciate both athletes for what they do on the field. When you compare the two statistically or whatever it is this past year, yes, Messi's playing in the quote-unquote Farmers League, but offensive-wise, output-wise, he was still comparable to what Ronaldo did. But of course, Ronaldo did it in a much better, tougher league in a struggling team. So that kind of goes there. But I mean, when we're letting in players like last year, and remember, I'm a Chelsea fan, and I'm saying this, when we let Jorginho become a top 3 player in that list last year, or top 5, I can't remember if it was 3 or 5, but whatever it was, all I know is that I was way too high. Yes, he won the Euros with Italy. Yes, he won the Champions League with Chelsea. But as a player, the Ballon d'Or, to me, at least the idea of it, should be the most elite player throughout the world in that year. Hashtag Lewandowski was robbed. So, you know, for those of you that don't know, and I think 99 point or maybe 100% of you know this, the Ballon d'Or is voted by L'Equipe. I think it's L'Equipe, but it's a French journalism group basically, or whatever. It's a bunch of French journalists who get together and vote for this, which is why the whole Messi thing and the whole lighting up the Eiffel Tower, and like, it was corny. I don't think it was deserved. I've gone publicly and said this. If not today, August 18th, 2022, a year later, OfficialH2 is saying Lewandowski should have won that Ballon d'Or. So how valid is the award itself? I'm going to go with it's pretty much not really a very valid award. However, we all know as fans, we see who wins the Ballon d'Or and hold that person to a very high standard. Having said that, I just feel like this list is way too loose. I feel like it should be the top, you know, Michael and I were talking about this. Mike Maignan from AC Milan made the list, and Michael was like, well, he was the second best goalie in the world, arguably. And I agree, he was. But now why are we doing second bests? It should be the best of the best. And so for me personally, I think a 30-man shortlist is absurd. I think, you know, why is Phil Foden on there, for crying out loud? Like, yes, he's a good player, but is he Ballon d'Or level? No. So I think it's just saturated. I think it's too easy to get into that list, and I think a lot of times people who don't deserve to be on that list get on that list, which kind of leads into what Michael probably wants to talk about with, you know, his main, not gripe, I would say, but something he noticed was how, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Michael, but I mean, the fact that Messi isn't on that list and some of the names that we saw on that list. How do you feel about that?
I'm going to start off with what everybody's thinking, and Messi doesn't deserve to be on the list.
Exactly.
Like, yes, he's won it more times than anybody else, and probably anybody else ever will, but he doesn't deserve to be on the list. Yes, he did. He had a really good tournament for Copa America. I don't want to disregard that. He had a phenomenal showing for Argentina. But this award has shown in the past that international football doesn't necessarily hold a lot of weight, unless your name is Luka Modric.
Yeah.
But they haven't taken into account a lot of European football in the past. They usually look at league performances. Yeah. If we look at his performance since joining PSG, which is what this award is primarily looking at, is that stretch that he had with PSG, 26 total appearances. He had 6 goals in the league. Mm-hmm. For overall, that's just the league. Now, if you look at cup matches and everything, overall at PSG, 34 overall appearances with PSG, 11 goals. Mm-hmm. His last season with Barcelona, the year that he won it for, 47 appearances, 38 goals. There's a difference there. Yeah. I don't think he deserves it. I think he was a better player when he was in a Barca shirt. Now, does that mean that we're not going to get to see the Messi that wins a 6th Ballon d'Or or anything like that? No. But he doesn't deserve to be on the list this year. That's just plain and simple. 100%. I think that he did well at Copa America. He did well with Argentina. Argentina as a squad did well as well, and they deserve to win that tournament. But he, as an individual, didn't do enough to really make me go, yeah, he deserves to be even in this contention. Ronaldo, on the other hand, that's a tricky one, because I will say that, again, is it the Ronaldo that's won 4 Ballon d'Ors? No. Did he go to Man United and make a difference? Can you say he didn't? Like, honestly, can you say he went to Manchester United and didn't make a difference?
I can't say that, no. He was clearly the single-handedly dragging that team to any sort of respectable season, you know.
I honestly think if he's not there last season, they probably finish a little bit worse. I don't think they finish any better.
I don't think you can argue that.
But I will say, according to the comparison for them for the entire calendar year in club and country, Lionel Messi had 61 total appearances in 2021. He had 43 goals, 18 assists. Mm-hmm. Respectable numbers. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where Messi fans have a problem. Cristiano Ronaldo had 65 appearances, 47 goals. That's only 4 more. 7 assists. Mm-hmm. That's 11 less. Mm-hmm. How did he make the list and Messi didn't? Yeah. Now, again, I say Messi didn't deserve to make the list. Yeah. But I'm also leaning towards...
Neither of them possibly deserve to make the list.
Exactly. What do you think?
Sorry.
He deserved it?
I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, it's pretty clear. The Ballon d'Or is literally the ball of gold. That is what it's called in French. Like, it's the ball of gold, you know, the best player, without a doubt, throughout the entire footballing world. Lewandowski, Benzema, Thibaut Courtois. Those are 3 names that you could see they were levels above everyone else in those positions. Now, no offense, but you scroll down this list and you see Dusan Vlahovic. You see Rafael Leao, who is a phenomenal talent, but what has he done compared to the names I've just said? Like Darwin Nunez at Benfica, let's be very clear. These are names that, yes, they are phenomenal. Antonio Rudiger. I'm a Chelsea fan, and Rudiger was not even close to being the best defender in the world. He was good. His career got revitalized under Thomas Tuchel. He was terrible under Lampard. He was been mediocre most of the time, and then his career got revitalized. He was a huge presence in the locker room. He was a huge character. Are you telling me that Antonio Rudiger could potentially be holding the Ballon d'Or on stage? No, there's not a chance. There's a bit of an echo. Okay, so maybe I need to move closer. Thanks for letting me know. Do you hear an echo, Michael, by the way? Just let me know if anyone, because my audio's been all messed up. You guys know this. But
no, I think you're good.
Okay, if there are any other issues, please let me know. I don't know how much I can do to fix it, but hopefully...
Make sure my stream's muted on your channel, or on your side.
It is. Everything's muted, supposedly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is this. Yes, these are phenomenal players on this list. Absolutely phenomenal. But are they the absolute best of the best creme de la creme? I don't think they are. So I completely agree with you. I don't think either Ronaldo or Messi, if we're being very honest about who the best players in the world were last year, I don't think either of them did enough.
So I think what they're doing, and I mean, we'll never know because they never release, how they pick players for this list, and they'll never release what their context is and things like that. But as you said, it's kind of like Hall of Fame voting for a lot of other sports where it's based on writers and writers' opinions. Now, what happens when you have writers is writers typically cover certain leagues. So, like the New York Times doesn't have one person who watches all of every single, football event ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have one writer who watches Premier League, they have one writer who watches the Serie A and so on, and I'm sure every other major news article, especially one that has a big trophy that goes out like this, does as well.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell, like you said, Rafael Leao's on the list, Vlahovic is on the list. You have Mykal who's on the list from AC Milan, and those are the only players from Serie A. Now, I will say Vlahovic had an amazing season with Fiorentina. I think as soon as he went to Juve, he flopped, and he needs to recover. Rafael Leao, in my opinion, I am a little biased here because I'm an AC Milan supporter. Well, I don't want to say supporter. I enjoy watching AC Milan.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
100%.
His stats aren't really there, but he reminds me of just one of these. He reminds me of like a Seedorf.
Yeah.
Almost. Where he does so much off the ball to create an open space. He does so much on the ball. He is a phenomenal player. That's my opinion. And he's a massive young kid. I think he also has a cloud that kind of follows him around because of the whole drama that he had transferring from Portugal to AC Milan and all that kind of crap. But I do think that he's going to be one of the big names in football for many years to come.
Yeah.
As we talked about, Mykal, in my opinion, second best keeper in the world last year. I think that he had a phenomenal season with AC Milan, easily the best keeper in Serie A. And in my opinion, the only thing that he fell short to was the fact that Thibaut Courtois showed up on the biggest stage in club football and balled out. Otherwise, I think Mykal would have been up for probably the Golden Glove Award this year. But you can kind of tell there's a lot of big names on here that I don't think so. I will agree, if we're just going down the list one by one here, Christopher Nkunku deserves to be on this list. He won Bundesliga Player of the Year.
Yeah.
He
seems like he was winning Player of the Month almost every single month, by the way, too.
And FIFA Ultimate Team fans will tell you that they're tired of seeing his face every month, but he's an out and out baller. And I actually stated to you earlier that if Leipzig aren't in contention for the title, the Bundesliga title, come the winter window, I think he's not there anymore. I think he and Dani Olmo are out of Leipzig, but absolute baller. I think he's an amazing player, and I hope he gets his chance to ball out for France at the World Cup. He deserves it, especially after the season he had. Mohamed Salah, I don't think he deserves to be on this list this year. Again, last year, deserve to be on this list. But if we're looking at his performance for 21 or for the 2022 season, does he deserve to be on this list?
I don't think so. I don't. Like, that's what I'm saying. For me, like, the three names that I can comfortably say deserve to be on this list, and I'm probably missing some, obviously, but I definitely think, names like Lewandowski, Benzema, and Courtois are the only three names that I can look at and say these are the three players without a shadow of a doubt who were miles above, the rest of the competition.
Yeah.
But then, and I want to touch on this about Rafael Leao. Phenomenal player, phenomenal. But then it becomes, how do we justify what his impact to AC Milan is? It's such a subjective thing, right? So that's why we tend to lean more towards who scored the most goals, who had the most assists, who has the most clean sheets, all of those things, because those are tangible things that even still we argue over. Still, we'll be like, two guys have the same amount of goals, but he scored in a harder competition. He scored against easier teams. What about top six? So it's so subjective, man. And I don't know how you go about making this award something that people respect and pay attention to, because it's almost a joke by now. It's almost like we wait for this short list to roll around to see who we're going to be outraged about.
I think so. I have a top 5. I know your top 3. I agree with your top 3. I go Lewandowski in this order for me, and this hurts to say.
Yeah.
But for me, it would go Benzema, Lewandowski, and then Courtois. I have Courtois at 3. I have actually Courtois tied with Nkunku for 3rd place.
Yeah.
And then I would throw Kevin De Bruyne in there at 5th place.
Yeah.
I think Kevin De Bruyne is going to be the next midfielder to win it after Modric did. I think give him a year or two.
Phenomenal midfielder,
especially now. And I think this might be the year where people are looking at him because now he has somebody who he can target with a lot more frequently, and you can already see the connection he has with Haaland.
100%.
I think that the only way I could see De Bruyne getting screwed out of a Ballon d'Or in the next 2-3 years is if Haaland is on the recipient end of all these and he's the one scoring all of them.
And he gets kind of overshadowed.
Yeah.
I want to ask
that
you...
would be my top 5.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that. I want to ask you this, and I know Dazer's saying this as a very biased Fulham fan here in chat. By the way, guys, if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or anywhere else that you get your podcasts, we do this live on Twitch on Thursdays, so feel free to join us over there on either Michael's channel or mine and be part of the chat. But Dazer says this as a biased Fulham fan about Mitrovic, 43 goals in 44 games in the championship. And it brings up a thing in my head. It brings up a thought in my head. Exactly, that's what I want to say. With no disrespect to the championship, where do we then draw the line? What if someone has 300 goals in League One in a season? I'm not saying, but where do you, is it only the top leagues? What is a top league? Is France a top league? Where do we, what are we?
Carlos Vela scored 35 in the MLS.
What, so how do we go about making this something? And I'd be curious, what you guys think in chat. I did a poll.
If that's the thing, then what's to stop, Erling Haaland from going on loan to rehab with a championship side, and he scores 65 goals in a season? Does he win the Ballon d'Or?
That's what I'm saying. So no. I guess we'll put our personal takes.
It should be. I think it's the best players in the best leagues in the world. So I think you got top 5 leagues.
I agree.
Only are the ones in consideration.
I agree. And then for me personally, people like Jorginho who win the Euros with Italy, if he had led them to that single-handedly with his midfield play or his, I'm not even saying goals and assists.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if he was the orchestrator. Everyone says Jorginho's the orchestrator who dictates tempo. Let's be very clear, he's not. And this thing of you don't know ball if you say Jorginho isn't that, no, he's not. He's good, but he is not Ballon d'Or level good.
He's not Ballon d'Or. Yeah.
So for me, a midfielder who carries Italy to the Euros without even his necessarily assists and goals, but you can see he's like a workhorse. He's there in every yes, okay, understood. But yeah, I don't think you just win it for being part of a team that wins something, and you did something.
I think Luka Modric was the last person that we've seen, to your point earlier, that it wasn't purely goals and assists or contributions. It was the level of play, the way he led his team. I mean, Croatia got to the finals that year. So I think that he was going to be the last player that we see for a while that isn't dictated by the two predominant scoreline or stat lines. So, but let's go over. I want to go over the rest of the names on this list because we've already talked about the big ones. We've already talked about Mo Salah doesn't belong on this list for us. Erling Haaland for me doesn't deserve to be on this list. He missed the majority of this season.
Come on.
He was phenomenal when he played, but club and country for him had no results, so he doesn't have that to lean on. And again, injured, plagued for the rest of the season. We've already touched on Vlahovic. João Cancelo, in my opinion, best fullback in the world last season.
100%.
Doesn't earn him a Ballon d'Or slot.
Thank you.
Kylian Mbappe, one of the best players in the world, but So he deserves to be on this list. I don't think he makes the top 10 though.
If he single-handedly takes them and wins the Champions League final, it'd be a different story. Anything he does in the league is 1 year out the other for me. No offense to the Liga Uber Eats fans.
And the other thing is, even if he won the Champions League this year with that team, I don't think you see anybody from that team win the Ballon d'Or because
they didn't drag them single-handedly.
Yeah. It's like naming, LeBron James an MVP when he's got 6 All-Stars on the starting 5. You know what I mean?
It's like giving MVP to the Team USA basketball gold medal winner. Yeah. They're all superstars.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
Virgil?
Again, top 10 player, I think, because one thing also keep in mind is I will say this is the first 30-man list. They do narrow this down as we get closer to it. I think they go from a 10-man, then I think they go down to the top 5.
Yeah.
So, to your point, I think they want to just keep people talking about this until the thing happens. So, next on the list though, VVD. It's hard for me.
Not
because
anymore.
He's consistently a rock at the back, but it's hard for me to say he was the best center back in the world. Yeah. But that being said, I also can't off the top of my head name a better center back.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
VVD's one of those things where he's always like in the conversation for the best in the world just because of how bloody good he's been and is, but you can tell that it's not like that next level of elite anymore. And I mean, no disrespect to Virgil van Dijk, he's a phenomenal defender, but it's clear to everyone who watches him long enough or watches enough games to see that he's not the same Virgil van Dijk, and we don't expect him to be, but he's not like levels above every single defender around, but then you always throw him in as one of the best, so it's hard to name him better.
The only other name that comes to my mind is Ruben Dias.
From City. Man
City. But Casemiro's on this list for some reason. I will say he was probably the best holding mid last season. Champions League winner, La Liga winner. But I don't think he deserves to be on this list. Heung-min Son definitely deserves to be on this list. Agreed. And I would love to see the Korean monster win a Ballon d'Or. I don't think this is his year, and he probably won't ever get one. But he deserves to be on this list.
Especially after the disrespect from the Premier League.
I will say to that point, Salah did have joint golden boot with Heung-min Son, so I probably should put a little bit more respect on his name. However, for me, when he went to the African Cup of Nations, and from that point on, he was a complete ghost. He had no impact on the Champions League final. He had no impact on any of their other performance, or not the Champions League final, but their Champions League run.
Yeah.
He just was a complete ghost from that tournament on. So if you want to be deemed as one of the best players in the world, that's for me why I don't think he deserves to be on this list, is because you can't go ghost halfway through the season. Fabinho, in my opinion, the second best holding midfielder in the world last season to Casemiro, but deserves to be on this list. Obviously, Karim Benzema. We both have him picked to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maignan, we've already touched on him. Harry Kane deserves to be in the conversation, but he didn't. I think he deserved it more the previous year, where he had golden boot and top assist man. I think if he was going to win it, that was probably his best chance. But especially if he would have managed to somehow win the Euros with England, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he's on this list, is because of his performance with England at the Euros.
With England,
yeah. Phil Foden, we've already kind of touched on this. I don't think he did enough to deserve to be on this list. I will also say Sadio Mane, who's next on the list, doesn't deserve to be on here, in my opinion. Same kind of thing. He did have a great showing at the African Cup of Nations, even though they got bounced out early. Or no, they won the whole thing.
They won the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won. I was thinking of I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, they won the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he won 4 trophies total last year? 5 trophies last year?
Yeah, and I think he got named African Footballer of the Year too.
So, it's hard for me, and it might be just my Liverpool disdain, but it's hard for me to say that he deserves to be on this list.
Yeah.
That being said, he'll probably make top 5 somehow.
Yeah. I think he will. I think Sadio Mane does make top 5, by the way, because of the impact in African football. But Haller from Ajax, his season at Ajax.
Does he deserve it though?
I don't think so.
That's where we talked about like top 5 leagues and everything. Does it? I mean, who knows? Joshua Kimmich, as a Bayern fan, I don't think he deserved it last year. Phenomenal player, one of the top holding midfielders in the world. Didn't do enough for me as a Bayern Munich fan to where he deserves it. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
No.
I think this is a lot of his. It's got to be English football, right? English football's carrying that, right? Vinicius Jr. There's a name that's. I think this is his first bid.
Yeah.
I think he deserves it. He's also slated to win young superstar,
The
young gold boy or whatever.
Yeah. The
Award
one that
it is.
Pedro won last time.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I couldn't name a better young player than him right now. Because he's what, 21?
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Just
Well,
recently
there's
turned
still,
21?
you know what's insane is Haaland still gets in this conversation because he's so young as well. So I think it's really between the Haaland and Vinicius, and I'm not sure if Mbappe fits that mold
And
anymore.
Nunez.
But and Nunez,
Bernardo Silva's on this list.
phenomenal, I think, but not global.
Not Ballon d'Or winner.
Ballon d'Or
Luis Diaz, he actually does deserve to be on this list, and I think he doesn't get the respect
from
that he
his
deserves.
time at Porto.
His time at Porto, he was a baller there, but also the work that he put in with Colombia, he got them to a third place medal at the Copa America, and they were really, really, really close to playing in the final with the Colombian team. And he was a superstar. And then he goes to Liverpool and continues that, and was a huge component and a huge piece for them having such a strong second half. Phenomenal. Lewandowski, now at Barcelona. Again, goal scorers, like you said earlier, just somebody who puts stats on the right column. So I think it's kind of hard to say he doesn't just because of the stats behind him. But I don't think he's even close this year compared to what he was the last 2 years. Riyad Mahrez. I think you mentioned this one when we originally looked at this list. This is one that you actually called out.
So he was, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year he was Man City's Premier League leading goal scorer in the Premier League at least, and that's great. But what did he do beyond that? I think he doesn't. I don't think he deserves to be on here. He's a phenomenal player for Manchester City, and he was last year. But let's look at how influential his performances were to a team that was already getting goals from a lot of different places. For Algeria, he didn't really, do anything, if we're honest. So
Algeria, by the way, had a really disappointing African Cup of Nations.
did.
When you look at that squad,
They did exactly. So I think that just kind of nullifies it for me.
Yeah. Next on the list is CR7. We've already touched base on him. You've already touched base on Antonio Rudiger.
Yeah.
I touched base on Kevin De Bruyne earlier.
Yeah.
In my opinion, was the best midfield player in the world last season. Also for the club level and international level. It's unfortunate that Belgium didn't have a better tournament.
100%.
I had them slated to go to the final against England originally. But I mean, how can you not be a fan of Kevin De Bruyne? I still remember watching that game where he scored a hat trick and scored two of them within what was it, 5 minutes of each other?
Yeah, he's
one with his
phenomenal.
right foot and then the other one with his left foot, from basically the same spot.
Yeah.
And then Luka Modric, which is at this point you just got to chuck him in here because he deserves it. So
Yeah.
The interesting thing that I saw on this is that Liverpool has a total of 6 players included in the final 30, which is the most of any club. So, and that's with Trent, VVD, Fabinho, Salah, and Luis Diaz, and then Nunez as well. So, which Nunez is kind of like an asterisk because he's now at Liverpool. But you don't see Neymar on this list, which was interesting too. I don't think that there was a big outcry for Neymar not being on this list, which for me is one of those ones where it's like he's been close a couple times. I know he's been on stage a couple times, but is he going to be one of those players who goes his whole career that probably should have won but never did?
I think so. There's too many question marks with him. His talent is undeniable and it's phenomenal, but there's always something or the other with Neymar. And there's never a spell where throughout one season you see him consistently perform at, an elite level without any distractions, off the field drama, any sort of, asterisks to his performance. This ties into what I want to ask you. This Dazzermeister in chat here asks, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I can speak on it. Does Messi's lack of a nomination confirm that Uber Eats Liga is no longer a top 5 league in the world and it has switched over to Netherlands or Portugal? I would argue with yes, that team at PSG, like Mykal said, even if Mbappe got them to the Champions League final and won it, you kind of say, well, yeah, it's PSG. Look who he has next to him. There's nothing that any of those players could do on that team, I think, personally. This is my personal take. That would make me say they're the best footballer in the world and they really, really deserve to have, single-handedly... Not single-handedly. I want to stop saying single-handedly because the Ballon d'Or is not about a good player on a shitty team. Don't get me wrong. It is about good players on good teams. But when you have a team like PSG, there's almost no excuse for them not to absolutely dominate every match that they go into, bar maybe one or two, which we see every year in the Champions League. Thoughts,
Yeah.
Michael?
I would say, to your point just now, I would say that a Ballon d'Or to me is about a great player making a good team a great team. And there's not that many players on this list that did that to me other than the five that I mentioned earlier. Benzema turned a good Real Madrid team and makes them a great team. The unfortunate thing is that they have like three people on this list that kind of did that together with Benzema, Vinny Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
and Courtois. I would love to see Courtois be the second keeper to win the Ballon d'Or, right behind Yashin.
Yashin.
Um, I mean, he. I agree. I don't think Neymar is ever going to get one. And it's to your point. Every time he takes a step in the right direction, he starts having an amazing season, like he was last year. He was popping off in Uber Eats. Granted, it's a farmers league, but he was popping off. He was having solid performances. He was eclipsing Messi's performances because everyone
Mm-hmm.
was really hyped about Messi joining PSG,
Mm-hmm.
and Neymar. I feel like he kind of had a little bit of extra in his pipe because he was, overshadowing Messi when he first
Mm-hmm.
joined the team with his
Mm-hmm.
performances. Then he had the international break, and he balled out with Brazil. Um, he did his typical Brazil, I'm going to roll on the ground for 6 times, like he usually does when he's on international duty. But he balled out with Brazil, and they got to a final. They got a second place medal. Um, but then he comes back from that, and he immediately starts having drama with the whole. Was it like his sister's wedding or birthday
The
or something
birthday,
like that?
the annual,
Yeah,
as Dazzler says, if only his sister didn't have a birthday here in chat. I mean, it's every single
yeah.
year around the same time. I mean,
And then
it's,
he
yeah, yeah.
his drama with the team. He gets pissy that Mbappe gets this super mega millions deal, which I am kind of team Neymar on that as well. Like I remember when they announced this Mbappe deal, I was like, as a player on that club, are like, how are you just okay with that?
And
But
you're
that's a
seeing those fractures.
whole
That's a different story. But you're seeing those
yeah
fractures creeping in on that team.
yeah, and so it was kind of an interesting thing for me when that all went down, and I want to be a fan of the guy because when you watch Neymar play, when he's standing, when he's upright, he's one
On
of
his
the
day, yeah.
the most fun players in the world to watch.
Yep.
But I don't think he's ever going to do enough to win a Ballon d'Or. And you also have to take into consideration um, he's fragile. You have to handle him with care because
Emotionally and physically.
he had 4 injuries
Yeah.
last year, and he was a big reason that they flopped out sorely in Champions League because he was out for majority of the tournament. So
FM Jellico here in my chat says Neymar looks like Tarzan but plays like Jane? Question mark.
I feel like it's an insult to Jane's.
Yeah, that's an insult to James. I mean, when on his day, like you said, Neymar's phenomenal when he takes players on, but the rolling around, the flopping, the whining, it's just so much. And the funny thing is, like, he has a temper on him. Like, he wants to give it back to people, but then as soon as he gets checked in even any kind of a situation, it's the most dramatic. And yeah, so bottom line for me with Neymar is it's always a missed opportunity with him because he doesn't stay healthy enough, he doesn't stay consistent enough, and there's
Yeah.
never a season where you just see him enjoy playing football for a full year on both international and club level and say, okay, you know.
To me, he joins Zlatan in the players that are really fun to watch who have amazing skill on the pitch, but just have way too much extra. That'll
100%.
never win an award like that.
Agreed. Interesting. Well, that was a good debate. If you guys are obviously listening on Spotify or
YouTube's.
YouTube, let us. Well, on YouTube, you can let us know in the comments. On Spotify, I guess, just think about it and drop by one of our chats someday and let us know what you think about the Ballon d'Or and its validity and all of that. I think that's probably good for me on that topic. Is there anything you want to add, Michael, or anyone from either chat?
No, I think that was pretty good. I think Messi fans need to come to grips with the end is nigh. I think they're just pissy. I think we wouldn't be hearing this as much if CR7 wasn't also on the list, which we talked about. He doesn't deserve to be, but I think, well, especially if he makes this rumored move to Dortmund was the one I saw today. Apparently, he's pushing because he wants to go to Dortmund. Did you see that?
I saw that. Yeah. It's gonna be. Yeah. I don't want to make this turn all the thing, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's. I don't
think that I don't. I mean, Dortmund fans are very vocal. Same with like when you saw the Atletico
Atletico
Madrid.
fans.
I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some sort of push from Dortmund fans because they don't play that shit either. They're very vocal. They're
100%.
also very firm on their political stances. So I don't know
100%.
if they'd be accepting of that, especially after he said that he wanted to go to Bayern first, and then all of a sudden Bayern doesn't want him. Now he's saying that he wants to go to Dortmund. I feel like that one's that's kind of like a a weird like take of, you don't want me, but I want you.
I want you.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. The dude's weird. I think he's also in that tour of Europe stage where he's just gonna milk his name and milk the money for it, but
100%.
we'll see.
Well, we'll see. All right, cool. That was a nice debate, guys. Again, thank you for participating, and yeah, that was a fun segment. I think we're gonna move on then to starting to recap some of the action around the world this past week. We're gonna start over in England. We're gonna start in the Premier League. The first match that we want to touch on is the Aston Villa Everton match. So that was the first, I believe that was the first game of the weekend, Saturday, early game for us, at least early. And yeah, Aston Villa gets the win, 2-1, scrappy-ish on paper. Everton again, decent enough, It wasn't as one-sided as we thought, actually. Everton looked fairly good. And the big news is Diego Carlos. He suffered what looks to be a severe Achilles injury, I believe it is, and I think he's slated to be out. Obviously, hopefully he recovers and it goes quicker, but he's slated 7 to 9 months out, and that is a massive blow for a team that already looked a bit sluggish with how they were playing in the first week or two, and now they lose a big piece. What are your thoughts on that, Mykal?
Yeah, best wishes to him, because I know he was really excited about this move to Aston Villa. I know Aston Villa was really excited to have him, and he looked good the first game. Considering that he hadn't had a lot of time to gel with that team yet, but I think he has if I remember right, it was a clean tear on his Achilles, so he's having a surgical repair, so he's out for the year.
That's tough.
And it's one of those injuries that, when you come back from it, you're never the same player. It doesn't matter how good the rehab is, doesn't matter how good the surgeon is. It's just one of those things where a little piece of you as a player is different now, and you're always going to be dealing with that. I was fortunate enough to never have to deal with, leg or knee injuries, but I've watched guys go down with knee injuries, and then, not only are they a different player, but you're a different person. The way you interact, off the field or off the ice, or whatever it is you're doing, is you're just different.
Toll.
So
yeah.
I wish him all the best. I hope he recovers.
Absolutely.
He's a fun center back to watch, and he's
Absolutely.
definitely a good presence for that team. But outside of that, I will say this was a really, really exciting game to watch. Aston Villa looked really, really dominant in the first half, which they should have been because they were the home team. Everton came out really defensive again. If I remember right, they were in like a 5-4-1 or something, like a 5-4-1-1 or something weird. And they were just getting destroyed in the first half. Aston Villa were just peppering them over and over and over again. And then Everton brought on, why is his name escaping me now? I remember we were talking about this.
Position?
What was that?
Not Anthony Gordon. He played from the start, didn't he?
His name's escaping me. No, yeah, because Anthony Gordon played the whole game. It was the guy who they brought in the midfield.
Alan?
I don't remember who it was.
Decore? Oh, Onana. Amadou.
Onana. There you go.
Onana. Yeah.
And I don't know why his name is escaping me. But they brought him on, and then that team was a completely different team. He literally caused the own goal that got Everton their only score of the game. He had 2 other good opportunities. He had one that it took an amazing challenge to keep it out the back of the net. And he looked like he was bigger than the Premier League for a moment there. Like
he's 21, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a massive player, super tall, super strong, and he's the quickest player on the field, which is a scary combination, that he's the strongest player and the fastest player on the field, no matter who he's playing against.
Unreal.
And one of the things that I want to mention about him is that a lot of fans that don't know about him, he's played almost every single position other than keeper at a top flight level. He's been started at left back, center back, right back. He started at holding mid, attacking mid. He's played both wingers and striker position. He can play any position you ask him to play. And it's partly because of his physical dominance is how he can get away with that. But he came on and he showed that he can contribute to goals. And I think Everton and Lampard need to find a way to get him into the starting 11 and figure out how to build a system around him because he's young, and that's a good focal point for them. Um,
He
I was
looks
a
like
little
he's
disappointed.
hungry and ready to make a difference too. Like he looks like
Yeah,
he's using this as an opportunity to show that with a struggling Everton team, a team that's expected to struggle at least this year, he wants to be that difference maker and carry them to a respectable
yeah,
season.
and it looks like he's forcing Dele Alli out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a direct correlation, but Dele Alli's linked to Besiktas right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Lampard is letting him go because I mean he hasn't
Shown
shown
anything.
out for
Yep.
Everton, so
Yep.
which is disappointing because he was a top talent at one point.
Yep.
Um, I think Everton are probably going to finish right where you and I predict them to be, towards the bottom of the table. I think they still avoid relegation, but they need to figure. If I was Lampard, I'd be sitting at the drawing board figuring out how we can get this kid involved all the
100%.
time.
He looks like someone that will make an absolute difference for Everton. Yeah, I think the main takeaways is Aston Villa looked like they were, like you said, ready to put immense to their first week loss against Bournemouth, and start strong. And Diego Carlos didn't go down till the end of the game too. I think it was, or not the end, but later on in the game. So things were
late
looking,
second half.
yeah, things were looking good for them. And it's unfortunate that he's had this severe injury. And just to touch on
And
your
Coutinho got hurt too, by the way.
Coutinho, exactly. And to touch on your point about how it changes you mentally, Dazer here says that he broke his leg, and when he recovered, it took 3 months, but he never trusted it again, if that makes sense. And that's the thing, mentally, like Mykal said, it changes you. And I want to say this, and I'm not saying it's easier or harder at all, because they're both really terrible situations, but say you've been at a team for a few years, you have the support of that team, that you can afford to rehabilitate yourself and come back as best as you can. With him, there's this huge price tag. He's played one Premier League game for them, and now he's out for probably the whole season, or hopefully less. And does he fit into Aston Villa when he's back? Will they stick with him? What does his career look like? Is this like, it's scary. So best wishes to him. Hopefully he can.
And will they
recover
stay
again.
up?
Will they even?
Will
Yeah,
he-
yeah.
Because I mean, I haven't decided to stay up no matter what,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I actually think we both have them qualifying for Europe, possibly as well. But if the injuries continue, if Coutinho's out for a while and he's out for the year now, they're looking at big name signings for them that are out, that they were building around. That's a struggle now. So is Aston Villa going to be able to stay up? Because if they somehow find themselves in a relegation battle, big names like him who aren't able to play or who are on the recovery are going to be one of those names on the chopping block.
100%. I agree. Okay, moving on then from the Aston Villa result, the next one that we had on here was the Arsenal-Leicester game, a 6-goal match that was. When you look at the story, XG is super simplified. The game was just a lot of fun to watch personally. But I mean, when you look at the XG, there's no denying Arsenal were the dominant team. 3.10 for Arsenal and a 0.57 for Leicester. So Leicester did well to score their 2 goals. It felt like every time Leicester got a foot back in the game, Arsenal just shut them down instantly and scored. It was insane to see the back and forth once a goal was scored. Gabriel Jesus, of course, FPL owners rejoice. But he was phenomenal. He had his brace. I think it was both goals in the first half from what I remember. But yeah, the main thing was the mentality with Arsenal. The mentality was great to see. And I think, again, they're a team who, if their mentality stays up throughout the year, if they can avoid too many injuries and sort out their midfield situation a little bit, like you guys know, I had Arsenal third. So I think, there's still a long way to go, but it was really nice to see Jesus come to fruition after he struggled a bit in the first week against Crystal Palace. And I think Arsenal, the mentality was the biggest thing for me. They did not let Leicester get back into that game, even if they scored. Your thoughts, Mykal, on the game?
Yeah, it was a really, really fun game to watch. Any 6-goal game is fun to watch. You know what I mean? But Arsenal went up early. Leicester kept clawing back into it, but as you said, Arsenal did really well to bounce back and bury the game. Jesus had a couple of chances at a hat trick and let those go by. So I think you see a little bit of both. This team is ready to go to the next level, but also it's still early in the season.
Exactly.
From this game, the 2 goals that Leicester were able to score were both really bad mental lapses in the back. So I think
one of them was that own goal from Saliba, correct? I think it was an own goal. Yeah.
So Arteta has a lot to still look at and want to improve on this game, especially against an opponent of Leicester's quality. And you're the home team. You really don't want to be giving up 2 goals to them if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all he's really going to care about is the 3 points that
3 points.
you get from here. So really, really exciting match, and I have a lot of faith that this team is going to be doing well in the future. And as we talked about, they have the first 5 games are pretty good games for them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they hit Hell Month in October. So
Mm-hmm.
if they can make it through the rest of this month and through September, I think that they'll probably be, close to the top of the table still.
There's,
Um,
yeah.
and then October is a key month. So
They're such a young team. Like, that's the thing with them. You have to remember, like, they do have a balance of course, experienced players in there, but they're such a young team that the consistency is going to be key, I think. And, say they get off to a phenomenal, strong start, they can't afford to get full of themselves, and they have to, just keep playing each game with that same mentality. And I think finally, the process, like we've talked about before, trust the process with Arsenal and Arteta. It's working, I think.
I mean, you're tired of me, of me saying it, but I'm starting to really like Arteta and
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
I mean, both what they've been doing on the field recently, um, and I had a ton of respect for the fact that he grinded through last season, and the result that they were able to get. But then on top of that, I've been harping about it, but this damn All or Nothing series about them, and I mean, I still have the same respect for Arteta, I would say, but I'm having more respect for them as a club
Mm-hmm.
and how they're backing this building of the team,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting to watch the fruits of his labors right now, and it's
Like,
really, really, really exciting.
and I'm a Chelsea fan, so for me to be praising them means a lot, because like I genuinely have no ill will towards what they've done. They've done it phenomenally. They've recruited perfectly.
Hmm.
They've backed their manager. They've given him time. They've let him implement his idea. They've stuck by him, supported him, had a phenomenal summer. Edu Gaspar has a perfect vision of what he wants Arsenal to be, and he has gone out and gotten those targets and continues to probably look to improve if he can. So
Yeah,
I look at Arsenal and I'm like, you know what? I think they deserve all the success that because
yeah,
it's been a while for them.
yeah.
And not to like go off topic, but Arsene Wenger's consistency is one of the most underrated things in the Premier League. I think it's so easy to just take it for granted what he did with that Arsenal team, for how long he did it with that team, but
Hmm.
this could easily have been a situation, and no offense to United fans, and I'm not taking a dig, but this could have been a situation where Wenger left, it just continued to go downhill for them. And again, it comes down to owners, and I understand all of that. So I'm
And the
not I'm not
support.
comparing the two. All I'm trying to say is I'm praising Arsenal for the way that they've managed and
Yeah,
navigated this huge transition period in their club, and yeah,
yeah.
they look good.
Well, to your point, yeah, it has a lot to do with ownership and stuff like that, because you got to have the right. You have to have everybody believing in that vision, and I feel, and that's
Exactly.
where, again, I'm praising this documentary that they've done, because
Exactly.
it does allow you to see that this every single person from the very top of the ownership group all the way down to the person who's making their meals in the clubhouse believe in this vision that they're doing, and they're not just spending money to spend money. That every single one of their players has a
It's
direct purpose and
calculated.
impact in this club,
Yep.
and the transfers out are the same way.
That's the biggest
Like
thing. They got rid of the dead
I
weight.
I loved that, like, the drama that was around the Aubameyang deal, and we never got to know about it. And then now that this documentary's out, I'm not gonna spoil it for
Yeah,
anybody, but
I haven't watched a single
once
episode yet, by the way, so I'm living this through
once
Michael, but
you need to watch that part
yeah,
specifically, because Aubameyang's linked to your
I
club right
know.
now,
I know.
and for me, I completely flip switches from what, because I was very interested to see how this all went down, what
Hmm.
was causes, blah blah blah. I have no respect for Aubameyang whatsoever, and I have all the respect in the world for Arsenal and how they
Arsenal and the
handled
way
the
they handled
situation.
it. Yeah.
So
I haven't seen it, but I can completely almost guess exactly how that went. Not saying that. I mean, I'm saying yeah. Like I don't know about this whole thing, and I need to watch it. But yeah, good game. Arsenal looks good. Stay healthy, stay consistent, stay mentally strong, and I think they will be just fine. Is there anything you wanted to add
well,
onto that?
that's the other thing is, like, even if they don't stay healthy, the way they've recruited and the way they've built this team,
Hmm.
they have players in every single position.
Hmm.
Like Bukayo Saka can play right, can play left, can
Hmm.
play central. Nikita, who's on the bench for him currently because of how good Gabriel Jesus is doing, can play wide. Both sides can play centrally. Gabriel Jesus himself has proven at Man City can play wide, can play centrally. Obviously, they
And
got him to play
Tomiyasu
centrally.
still has to come back. Tierney,
Yeah,
I think these guys. Yeah,
yeah.
they're yeah.
Tyranny and Tomiyasu have both proven that they can fill in at center back when they need to. They can both play wide. They can both play left
Saliba.
or right. Every single person on that team has proven that they are not just a one position player. They can play 2, 3, 4 positions,
Hmm.
which again comes down to smartness and recruiting and how they're spending their money. For me, you got to figure out Thomas Partey and Granit
Hmm.
Xhaka.
Hmm.
If they can get
The
Granit
midfield.
Xhaka of 2011, 2012, 2013, fine. If they get Granit Xhaka for the last 3 years, issues. Odegaard's phenomenal. Thomas
100%.
Partey, I think they need to figure his stuff out because one of the off-field stuff, but two, if you go back and watch this game, one of the Leicester goals came off of his poor passing and turnovers. And for me, he still is a liability on the ball. And I think big teams are going to see that. And eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of big teams who are going to let off the ball as soon as Thomas Partey's on it. You're going to see heavy press on him.
Just
and
force him into mistakes.
Yep. So I think they're probably one key midfielder.
I agree 100%.
Away from being big contenders. So
I agree.
We also have to see what they do in Europe.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I couldn't have said it better, man. Perfectly said, Mykal. Cool. All right. Next one. Fairly routine. By the way, guys, we just had a few names. Like, this isn't every single game that happened in the Premier League. These are just the ones we wanted to talk about. If there's something you want us to,
last time.
Yeah, if you want us to touch on something, just throw it in chat and we can touch on it. But we are trying to be more aware of time because both of us have kind of a 2-hour idea in our head for this, just so we don't. Yeah. Anyways, Man City 4, Bournemouth 0. Bournemouth started the season well, back in the top flight with a win in the first week against Villa. But this was just routine from Man City. I mean, dominance, and we talked about him earlier. Arguably, probably the best midfielder. Well, not arguably, but I'm saying one of the best midfielders in the world, Kevin De Bruyne. Goal and an assist. The goal was beautiful, just controlling the ball, going into the box, and I think it was like an outside of a foot shot with his right foot. And then
Handball.
he assisted Foden. And if I'm not mistaken, Haaland got an assist on the Gundogan goal. So
goal and assists for both of them.
You look at the score sheet and say, "Oh, where's Haaland? He didn't score his 2 goals or whatever." Well, he was still involved. Routine is the word I wrote. Just dominance, as expected. Is there anything you saw in that game that kind of stood out to you, Mykal?
Other than the Kevin De Bruyne shot, it was Bournemouth. It's Bournemouth. It's their home opener against Bournemouth. So, I actually picked them to score 5.
I'm saying this now. I'm saying this now because this team has been a boogie team for Chelsea for years. Bournemouth will somehow get 3 points against Chelsea at some point this season.
You mean 6 points?
6. Well, yeah, maybe 4. We'll say 4. No, but for real, like, Bournemouth is gonna find a way to get those results here and there. But like you said, it's Bournemouth, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah. He Kevin De Bruyne. He's a monster, and he's gonna be the next Modric or Toni Kroos where he plays until he's 40. So I think that it's Bournemouth. That's all I can really say. It's Bournemouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bournemouth's going to get relegated, and Man City was having their home debut. It's not.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Exactly. Nothing. That's why I wrote routine next. Okay. Couple of points here I wanted to talk about. Nottingham Forest get their first win. Taiwo Awoniyi with a shinner. That ball was just kind of.
Wait a second.
Who
the fuck is that guy?
Someone that I said in my bold predictions would have a brace in the first match week, and I think he just came off the bench for like a 5-minute thing. But anyways, it was nice to see him get off the mark. I think you and I both have a bit of a soft spot. You probably more than me because you've actually managed them on FM as well as you probably,
he was gone when I managed him, but yeah.
But still, Forest. No, sorry, I'm talking about Forest in general. Like Forest in general. West Ham are struggling a little bit. I mean, yes, they had their first match against Man City, but this was a match where you expected, okay, now we'll see, we'll see what happens here. And I think Forest found a way to get a win. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I think West Ham hit,
lucky this one.
They were, because West Ham hit the bar from what I remember at least 3 distinct occasions. I don't know if it was more or less, but I remember West Ham was all over them for certain periods of the game, and they just could not find that finish.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think West Ham's a team that's really coming together still. I will say I watched their game their Conference League game today, qualification game today.
Scamacca scored, right?
Yeah, Scamacca scored 1. He should have had 2, and Cornet scored. No, not Cornet scored. Antonio scored. And they looked really good. Granted, they're playing a Conference League quality opponent and they're a Premier League team, but they looked quality, and I think they're coming together even more. Cornet looks like he's going to be really a good asset for them.
He's a good player. I like him from Burnley.
He's really opened it up, and with Scamacca up front as well, you're seeing that team really get a lot more forward. They need to figure out what they're doing at their back line, I feel like. And I also think they need to figure out what they're doing in their midfield. Declan Rice wasn't able to play today, so there's a little bit of that. But they also conceded a goal today to this side, so and it was just poor defending. So West Ham, I think, are going to be another one of those seasons where they may flash to the pan. They may get up to like fifth or something at one point because of a run of games, but I think they're still like an eighth place, ninth place team.
Yeah.
But Forest had, shout out to Forest, like you said, their first Premier League win in what was it, like 18 years, 80 years, or however many it was forever. I remember the stat line, but
I think 30
and
years. Yeah.
Despite the controversy, they grinded. They stuck their nose down and got the win. So
that's all you can do. Exactly. They found a way. So they are off the mark, and we will see what the rest of the season has in store for them. Before we move on, actually, I have a question in chat here from Gus about Forest while we're on the topic. How do you feel about Nottingham Forest signing 15 players? I think I mentioned this to you today. I saw a rumor, I'm not sure how reliable, but Hossam Aouar, I think officially Forest are the top spenders of the Premier League, at least this transfer window.
Yes. I don't think they've...
if not top, they're around there.
I think they're close. Yeah,
but,
they're pretty close.
It's crazy to think of a team that did their business pretty early on and then still is continuing to spend. I think it's always a risk when you bring in so many new players, especially when a team rides that cohesive unit brought you up, and then you add 15 or 10 or 8 whatever new personalities into that group. It could go really well and solidify them, or it could go horribly wrong. I always find with a newly promoted team, the best way is to bring in 1 or 2 kind of game changers, but keep the core of the squad the same, because that's the team that, lived that promotion season. They know, they know how to work with each other, and bringing in, I think it is 15 players. It's kind of crazy to me. What do you think, Michael?
I agree with you 100%. It's you when you sign a whole new team, basically 15 players, whether they're free transfers, loanees, you're spending money for them, you run the risk of, you're rebuilding a team that you didn't really need to rebuild.
Well, what are you going to get out of this team?
Yeah. Would they have stayed in the Prem if they didn't buy this many players? Probably not, I would say. I think they probably still would have yo-yoed, but I think that they would have put in a good performance. I think that they could have done with a couple players, but I don't think they needed to go to the length that they did.
Yeah.
Some of the players that they brought in, though, were phenomenal players. And they're players that they got technically on a bargain when you look at the quality that they're getting versus...
I agree.
What other clubs probably would have paid for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like every time I look up transfer information, Nottingham Forest is in there with another signing.
100%.
So
and it's interesting.
They spent 130 million this window.
Yeah,
US dollars, I should say. 130 million US dollars.
And like Gus says, the first of the 15 transfers was the record transfer. So they went out and got their main guy Taiwo, and then they continued. And it's interesting. They've brought in a mix of experience and youth. So they've brought in the younger guys. A big signing for them, which I think is great, by the way, is Emmanuel Dennis from Watford. He's going to be great, and he's only 24. But they brought in Chico Kayate, 32-year-old. Wayne Hennessy, okay, 35, he's not going to play, but he can kind of get Dean Henderson under his wing and those kinds of things. They've brought in a few experience. Lingard's almost 30. He's been
signed
around.
Remo
Freuler, yeah, exactly.
Freuler,
30.
from Atlanta.
So I think they're, on paper, it's pretty planned, and it's not just buying for the sake of buying. It looks pretty like there's some sort of a plan there, but it's just a huge amount of players and amount of money for a team that just got promoted. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
I bet, I will say this, though. I bet Man United fans wish they had Dean Henderson right about now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about United after. Anyways. But yeah, no, I think it's an interesting point. They've brought in a ton of players, and you never know whether it's going to work or not. Gus says, "No, it's okay. Please don't talk about United after." I'm sorry, my friend. It is the last thing on our tab before we move on to another league. But yeah, okay. I think we're good with that. Forest GG's on their first 3 points of the season, and let's see what the rest has in store. Spicy moment number 1 of the weekend is another hot-headed Uruguayan for Liverpool. Darwin Núñez, I think we all saw. And I want to touch on this, and I want to know your thoughts, Michael. Yes, Joachim Andersen was egging him on. Yeah, he was getting under his skin. But that's part of the game. That's gamesmanship. And, I think he blacked out for a second, Núñez did, and just reacted. He tried to headbutt him. When they were backing down, you could see Núñez kind of flung his head at him, and then Andersen kind of came back and pushed him, and then he just kind of conked him in the face. I think Klopp is going to have a serious problem with that. I think I'm going to let you talk about the red card and stuff. For me, my main comment before I let you talk and then we go from there, I think for me, the biggest thing was their mentality. You and I talked about this live on the day in our Discords. As soon as that red happened, Liverpool were a different team in a good way. And that mentality is crazy to me. Luis Diaz, I know you want to talk about that goal because you had lots to praise about that. But take it away, man. Goal. Let's talk about how that red card almost made them ignite and just absolutely throw everything they had in a good way, not a desperate way at Palace.
I feel like it was good for some players and bad for other players. Like Luis Diaz popped off. I think it's funny because I feel like the space that Darwin Nunez typically likes to run into is that central to left space, which overlaps with Diaz.
Yeah.
And in theory, that opens up more space for Mohamed Salah to cut inside on his strong foot, and you get this weird overlap with Luis Diaz. But you take Darwin Nunez off now, and Luis Diaz had all that space, and he scores that wonderful goal where he dribbles through three people, curls it around outside the box. Like, I mean, oh my God, the guy, he's one of my favorite players to watch, and it sucks because he's in a damn Liverpool shirt.
That is exactly how I feel too.
He's so fun to watch because he's constantly creative, and he's not a selfish player.
No.
Like usually you get players with that kind of quality and they're selfish and they're constantly looking for themselves. One of my favorite things about Luis Diaz is he has all this talent and he is a team first player. He looks to create for the players that are around him and feed the players that need to get the ball.
And
it's amazing.
He has that balance of when it doesn't make sense to look for your team, he does what he did and scores a banger. Because too often we see players who try to do the right thing for the team and just squander a chance away where they could have been a little bit more aggressive. He has that perfect blend of putting the team first and doing what's right, but also taking charge when like he did in this game.
And for me, the one thing that is a huge improvement for him, and I love Jurgen Klopp. Again, it sucks that he's on the team that he's on, but I love Jurgen Klopp. And I actually hope that eventually he's the head coach of the German national team somewhere down the road. But one thing that you see that he's immediately implemented into Luis Diaz's game is his ability to track back on defense. You're now seeing him on top of his own box as much as he is in the other team's box. And it's just beautiful to watch this growth and development in the game.
100%.
Beyond that, though, for me in this game, Mohamed Salah was a ghost.
Yeah.
I think
Which
he
for
had
the
one
first
opportunity to
60-ish
score.
minutes of the game against the first game of the season that Liverpool had, he was a ghost as well.
And I feel like clubs are figuring out how to play against him. You just hard force him onto his right foot, and he's useless. For me, this is a better game from Trent.
Trent was decent, yeah.
But their midfield, and this is what you and I have been talking about for days now with Liverpool, is that their midfield has no clue what they're doing without Thiago in the midfield.
So
they have nobody.
Yeah, you identified on the weekend specifically what kind of players they need, and if you want to talk about that, I think you have a very clear idea of what would help Liverpool.
Yeah, they need somebody that. I'm watching chat going, "Oh my gosh, Michael almost has us ready to defend Liverpool players," but it's true. And it sucks because I mean Liverpool's the only club in the Premier League where I'm like, I wish them no success, and it's just because they're shithouse fans. If I'm being 100% honest, but.
Type of player.
They're another club that's doing things right. But I will say that Jurgen Klopp needs help in the midfield. Thiago was that one player who could pick apart a defense with a pass. He wasn't great. He's like he's their Luka Modric, where he's not a physical powerhouse, but he has the ability to drop back. You'll see him kind of even come to the halfway line, and he'll dribble forward. He'll find a spot, and he'll pick a player out.
What we all think Jorginho should be, but is not even close. Like that exact type of player.
Liverpool doesn't have that player right now. No. They were down a man, down a goal, and they subbed on Jordan fucking Henderson.
Yeah.
That's the player that you're bringing on for your down a man, down a goal situation. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's when you should be looking to bring on that Portuguese guy that they brought on. Every time I go to talk about somebody, their name fucking escapes me.
What
too.
Team? Or
the guy that they the guy they just brought
Carvalho.
Yeah.
Fabio Carvalho.
He has that ability, but he's still too young to be in that situation where he has to be that player. So Carvalho is going to be great in a couple years. I think we're going to see him. I know Liverpool fans were like, "Oh, we got the new Bruno Fernandes." You don't, not yet. Give him a couple years, but he's going to be.
No.
But They need somebody. And for me, I've called it 100 times. I'm putting money on it. I think Dani Olmo, and I mentioned this earlier, I think Dani Olmo ends up in a Liverpool shirt
From Leipzig to
at the
Liverpool.
end of, at minimum, at the end of this regular season.
Phenomenal. We had a Liverpool fan yesterday, I think it was, in chat, or a couple of days ago, and one of the takes from them was Liverpool's missing like 6 to 7 players right now, so take everything with a grain of salt. Naby Keita, Fabinho, I don't remember if Fabinho played, but I know Naby Keita for sure, Oxlade-Chamberlain, like a bunch of players. I think Jota wasn't available either. I'm not sure off the top of my head, so forgive me, but
Wasn't Ox gone?
is he? I don't know. I just know that that person mentioned six names that weren't available that usually would be close to, if not for sure, first teamers. So there's that. Also, Uncle Gus says in chat here that they got a point out of it. Henderson was a smart sub. Yes, I mean, a point is a point, but I mean, when you're Liverpool, are you happy with the point? Yes, you have the red card, and that kind of you have to think about that. But, you know, I think it's clear that with a different midfield, that Liverpool team, even with a man down, probably finds a way to unlock Palace and get a second goal. I think there's no denying that.
Let's also mention that Palace almost ran away with that game.
Yes, yeah.
And when it was full strength, like,
Yeah.
Zaha had 2 amazing chances that you would have picked him to score, a player of his quality.
As they would the assist as well.
A 1-1 scoreline wasn't fair to either team. You know, Liverpool because of their quality, but Crystal Palace because of the shift they put in. Like, yes, they bunkered in and they were playing a very defensive game, which was annoying to see, especially once they went a man up. But the way they played it and the way they were able to execute the counterattacks,
Yeah.
I mean, they almost won the game. Like, they actually had probably a better chance to win the game than Liverpool ever did.
Palace is a solid team, I think, and you know, Vieira as well at the helm. I think we have to give them credit. Actually, that's something we've been just talking about Liverpool, but let's give credit to Crystal Palace for walking out of there with a point, and like you said, looking like it could have been more at points of the game, because they definitely gave a good account of themselves. And that Ebreche Eze, I think it was, the pass to set up the Zaha counterattack was just a perfect example of you know, slicing a team open on the counter. So yeah, I think that was. We'll see. I think Nunez learns from this. I think Klopp doesn't tolerate much more of this. It's going to be in his blood. For like, when I say in his blood, I mean, like, you think of Diego Costa, you think of these shithouse players who, or not shithouse, but hot-headed players. Diego was a shithouse, but hot-headed players. You know, Suarez. I think.
I feel like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like, I mean, there's a couple things to take away from this for me. If he's dealing with this from Aronson, wait till he has to play some of the other big players in the league who are absolute shithouses at center back. You know?
Wait till he meets Christian Romero.
Just be glad he doesn't have to play Andy Robertson all the time.
Robertson smacking him around, yeah.
But you know, if he's dealing with this already, he's gonna have a long history of problems, and I hope that's not the case.
Exactly.
I think the other thing is that Klopp's not really going to stand for this type of thing. He was yelling at him as Nunez was dancing around on the field, and which for me is probably going to, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see this get extended. I'm surprised that when we're at Thursday and we haven't seen this red card get extended, because it's violent conduct, which usually ends up resulting in an extra match ban.
Yep.
Plus, he recharged the player and refused to leave the fields, which usually results in an extra match ban as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if probably at some point in the next couple hours we see this get extended.
Yeah.
But I think Klopp's probably. I wouldn't be surprised if Klopp even sits him an extra game, anyways, just because he in your first start you have something like that happen. Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Chelsea-Tottenham game. What a game that was, man. Of course, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I had to navigate through that during the weekend. But like I said, it surprisingly, like, I used to get triggered at games like that. This time, it was more just succumbing to the fact that I knew something like this would happen. I don't want to sound salty, because if you know me in like on a personal level, I usually don't, you know, blame things that are out of, like, I think at the end of the day, Chelsea did let 2 points slip. At the bottom line is Chelsea let 2 points slip away. It was their home. They fought back to get that second goal. Reece James gave them the lead, and nobody marked 4 guys. Tottenham looked hungry for that last goal. They got it. The bottom line is Chelsea dropped 2 points. Tottenham gained a point. That is the bottom line. Yep. So for me as a Chelsea fan, blaming the officials is a lazy excuse. As soon as you see Anthony Taylor, if you followed Chelsea games long enough, you don't even have to be a fan. If you've watched Chelsea games for the last 7 to 8 years, Mourinho's famous quote back in the day, which everyone said he's just whining and being Mourinho, when he said that there's a campaign against Chelsea, was because Anthony Taylor didn't call a point-blank penalty against Southampton in a 1-1 draw 8 years ago. 8 years later, he's cost us at least 2 FA Cups. He sent off Kovacic when Xhaka stamped on him 2 or 3 years ago and Arsenal won the FA Cup. It was a completely flawed call. There's a full compilation online. I'm not going to go into all the details because you can search that up for yourself. We all know that Anthony Taylor in Chelsea is a meme by now. It's an actual meme. Today, Mike Dean came out and said he got it wrong as a VAR official. It doesn't change anything. It's like, okay, nice to know. It's an interesting topic, right? Where, and I don't want to get too deviated on this, but it becomes a point where VAR has been around long enough for us not to need to have these issues with growing pains and figuring out, like, it should be at a point where everything functions as intended, and we shouldn't be having these debates week in and week out, no matter which team you support, that they missed it, this missed it, that was the whole point of implementing this years ago now, and so it's come to a point where we need that, for it to work the way it did. In terms of the actual gameplay, I think Chelsea started well. I think Chelsea were looking bright, but it's the same story attacking wise. There's no concrete plan. It's just kind of the same approach every time with Chelsea's attack, and it's been that way for years. Tottenham, Antonio Conte changed when he put Richarlison on. I think it changed the game. I think Michael touched on this too in the game day chat, but there was no denying that his substitutions changed the game for sure. And like I said, no matter what happened with the hair pull, which I think was violent conduct at the least, if not a free kick or anything, that should have been a red card, like regardless of the fact. But because remember when Robert Huth did it to Fellaini, it was a 3-match suspension for both of them because Fellaini did elbow him back, but there was the same thing, a hair pull, and it was given as a 3-match suspension. So regardless of that, Tottenham's mentality until the end was to not give up. Chelsea fell apart on that final corner. Didn't pick up 3 or 4 players dying to get their head on that ball for Tottenham, and Harry Kane is the one who ended up putting it in the back of the net. So I'm gonna that's my summary of the game. I'm gonna let Michael go ahead and give us his thoughts, and then if there's anything that comes up, I can touch on it if you guys want to ask or whatever.
Yeah, this was a fun one to watch with you because I got to rile you up a little bit. But despite I've admitted before that I do kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for Spurs because of their underdog story and everything, but I am typically still a neutral fan. Yeah. And when I was for me, the beginning of the game up till about just after halftime, I felt like the calls were mostly going in the favor of Chelsea. I think that's also because Chelsea was dictating the pace of the game for the most part. I think the first half, Tuchel was the better coach. I think in the second half, Conte was the better coach.
100%.
I mean, I called it at halftime. I was like, he's going to bring on Richarlison, and then they're going to go to 2 strikers, and that's going to expose your back line. And even you were like, that's what's going to happen. And that's immediately what happened was Richarlison came on. He was making runs. They got the ball short to Kane. Now there's so much more space.
Because with that second striker, Kane can drop in like he loves to and link up play, which he's phenomenal at. And
so Conte was the better coach in the second half. They also brought in Perisic, which then opens things up.
He assisted that goal, by the way. Everyone forgets he not everyone, but he assisted that corner.
Yep, he's a set piece man. Like he is somebody who can put a free kick or a corner on a dime, and you'll see a lot more probably set piece goals for Tottenham because of that kind of thing. So, I think it's a tale of two halves. I think in the second half, I do think Chelsea probably got the short end of the stick in terms of foul calls. I've gone back and I've watched the Bentancur challenge on Havertz, and I would say that for me, I could see that call not being called. I can also see it being called. For me, it's one of those calls that's so 50-50 in the moment that either it's reviewed and it's overturned or it's not. Or excuse me, it's called and then it's not reviewed is what I should say because 100%. It's so in the moment.
100%.
So
can I just touch on that before we move on? Because this is something I want to address because we have some people watching here and I just want to make sure this is clear. A lot of people are saying Chelsea fans were screaming out that the Bentancur tackle should have been called back, and basically at the end of the day, the goal was 40 seconds after, so it's irrelevant what happened. That is utter bullshit based on what we have seen when Timo Werner, who we all know was an absolute meme at Chelsea, he scored a very well-worked goal. I think it was against Southampton last season. I can't remember if it was last season or the season before, but it was very recent, where he scored a goal and suddenly it was like, oh, we have a VAR check. And you looked at the goal, there was no offside, there was no interference, there was nothing to call the goal back for. So we're like, what are they going to get Werner for now? Because it was a joke by that point that this guy just got goals taken away for fun. They rewound the play a good minute plus for an Azpilicueta. He hit someone's ankle with taking the ball away from them. And they called the goal off for something that had happened a minute before the goal went in. So this narrative that I've seen from pundits on TV, as well as from people online, which obviously online isn't the best place to take opinions from, but some people on live TV have also said that that was not part of the play, this, that, the other. But then it's like, where's that consistency with VAR? And I'm not saying this because it costs Chelsea, whatever. My thing is, as people who love this sport, we are getting sick and tired of not knowing what we're getting when a decision goes to video assisted review. I don't even know what's a handball anymore. I don't even know what's violent conduct anymore. I don't know what's reviewable in a run of play and what's not reviewable in a run of play. And we are years into VAR being implemented. When is it going to actually work the way it was intended to? If I'm honest with you, it's made things worse. Yeah. Because we have to wait, we question, wonder, and then it's more infuriating when you see something on replay and you say, how did they miss it? I'd rather just have the ref make that human error and be like, he just missed it in the moment. But it, so I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I agree. VAR is one of those things that we can have a 2-hour-long podcast about it. Yeah. So I don't think it's something I want to deep dive into too much because nobody's ever going to be happy because you're going to have the crowd that's like, well, they need to get the call right and it needs to happen, blah blah blah. And then you're going to have the crowd that's like, well, it's never 100%. Nobody's ever going to be happy with it. I will say, in my opinion, I do think it's, for the most part, for the majority, it is better for the game. Yeah. I think that the implementation still needs some fine tuning, which is 100%. Annoying considering we're however many years into it now. Yeah. But, it is what it is. For me, it is what it is. The hair pulling thing, when I remember watching it live with you, and I was like, I don't think that there's technically any rules in men's football about hair pulling. Like, legitimately, I don't.
It's not about the hair pulling. I think, agreed, 100%. There's no rule that says you cannot pull hair. However, we've seen shirt pulling is like infringing and holding back somebody from an object that isn't their body, even their body. Even if you pull someone's arm, it gets called a foul. However, I think the thing became not the hair pulling, which you're right. There's no rule saying you can't pull hair. Is that violent conduct or not?
Yeah, it's deemed violent conduct. It's a non-footballing conduct, is what it is.
There we go. That's the correct.
And so it has if it has to be deemed violent conduct in order for the VAR official to be even to
suggest to be that reviewed. The ref go to review it.
And so, from my understanding, Anthony Taylor didn't see it initially, so that means that Mike Dean then has to deem it as violent conduct in order for it to be reviewed. Which apparently, on the initial, on the day of, he did not deem it as violent conduct. Which, if it was deemed violent conduct, which calls for an immediate review, that is then a red card review, not just a foul review, because it's a violent conduct. Which is why when you saw it happen to Fellaini, it was a multiple game suspension.
Yeah, with Huth and Fellaini,
but there's technically no rule about pulling hair. There's shirts, there's other players' equipment. So, like if you're messing with gloves or anything like that, there's other players' equipment, but there is none for hair. Mm-hmm. Because nobody expects you to
actually rip someone's hair out.
Same thing with there's a Luis Suarez rule now in FIFA, biting. Because originally there was no rule against biting. It had to be deemed a violent conduct, and if it's not seen, you can't go back and review it. Now there's a Luis Suarez rule where if it's biting, that's an immediate so and so. So
agreed.
It's one of those things where in the moment I could see how it escapes them. Again, as a neutral, I could see how it escapes them. I feel like it's one of those plays where, unless you have the exact perfect angle, which we all obviously do at home, Mike Dean's probably looking at it and going, I don't see anything violent here, move on, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I will say it doesn't help that Cucurella's hair is so long that,
Troy Polamalu vibes.
Yeah, you put your hair in his the middle of his, or you put your hand in the middle of his back and you can't see your hand. So,
I think the main thing I want.
It's one of those. So my key thing is, and I think I've told you this before as well, and I mentioned it to somebody on stream last night. Is yes, if it's called a foul, it's the end of the game. Not only is he sent off, Romero sent off, it's a foul and game's over.
Yeah.
But as a Chelsea player, you need to realize that the game moves on. The next play needs to happen.
Really?
You have one corner you have to defend, and you win the game. That's it.
That's exactly
one
it.
corner, and you win the game.
That's exactly
and not only did You let one player get free. You had four players who were wide open on the 8-yard box line to score that header, one of which is one of the most prolific strikers in the world, let alone the Premier League. So for me, it still falls on Chelsea not getting that one extra
100%
play to win that game.
And that's
so like
what
you
I
said,
need people
2
to
points lost,
yeah.
1.1. So
100%. And that's what I think people need to understand, because everyone's like, oh, haha, Chelsea, like this and that. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, I give credit where credit's due. I think Tottenham did phenomenally well mentally and physically, because they were physically hungry for that ball. And so I think it was credit to them where credit's due. I think it's too easy to get hung up on the fact that the referees got it wrong, because like you said, you play till the whistles regardless of what happens. If you agree or you do not agree, the reality is at 96 minutes in the game, those Chelsea players stood in that box, looked at Ivan Perisic to deliver that ball, and knew that this is going to come in and happen, and we need to deal with it, and they didn't do it. So
to your point, that's one of the things that Jose Mourinho, when VAR came in, was coaching his players to. He's like, you play until he blows the whistle twice. Just keep playing. Keep playing. VAR will figure it out.
100%.
Don't stop for anything.
100%.
And he's one of those coaches who's like, don't charge the referee. Let blah blah blah. And I think that's something that maybe Tuchel needs to impound into the Chelsea team. Is
100%.
You need to play and let the refs figure out their side of it, because
100%.
the minute you start distracting yourself, 4 players are wide open on a corner.
Which, to be fair, I do want to shout out, and I don't want to go on this too long, but I do want to shout out. Nobody said it, and I'm going to say it, actually. I don't care if nobody said it. Shout out to Cucurella for getting up. He did miss the corner. He didn't move, whatever. I don't care about that, but I'm talking about like mentality-wise. He got up from getting his hair ripped out of his head and did complain to the ref, but when nothing happened, he moved on with it and went back and started trying to mark Romero, which he failed miserably at. But still, the fact is... Yeah. How many players would we have seen throw an absolute tantrum over that and, just been furious and livid? So there, bottom line, what a game. What a game. I can't wait for part 2.
Bald Cucurella soon?
Yeah, they asked him that. They asked him that in the press conference. I don't know if you saw that, but they're like, are you going to shave your head? No, he said, no, it's my style. I'm not going to shave it. He joked. Fair play to him. Listen, I think we've talked about this a lot. Huh?
I think we get a red card in the return match.
This is what I'm trying to say. The way it's been poised for the return game is phenomenal. And last year, remember, we played Tottenham I think 5 times in a period of a month or something, because it was Carabao first and second leg, FA Cup, and a league game. So it's always spicy with Tottenham, man. Like Zan United, who's a very frequent viewer in both of our channels, he asked me a long time ago, he said, who's your main rival? And I said, historically and in terms of like stature, it's Arsenal for sure. But the Tottenham games just mean so much when it comes down to like Arsenal is the rivalry, but Tottenham is the fight, the scrap. And if you've watched this game long enough, a few years ago, we had a crazy one at Stamford Bridge. Same thing this time. I can't wait for the return fixture. May the best team win, man. Like, that's what it is. It's just 2 teams that fought hard. One team didn't give up till the very end. One team mentally lapsed for a second, that team being Chelsea. And I
hope Cucurella scores at Tottenham, and then I hope he goes to the flag and
just brushes his hair.
Fake brushes his hair. Yeah, I think that would be amazing.
That would break the internet. But yeah, I think... like a phenomenal game, and I can't wait for more. But I think that's a good summary there, and we probably should touch on this last one because this might take a bit. Gus, if you're here,
gosh,
Gus,
let me get comfortable. Hold on,
Gus, if you're here, close your ears. Do you want?
All right, United fans, let's go.
Do you want to speak on this, or do you want me to start? Because what the hell
What's
happened
there to
with
say?
Brentford and Man United? Shout out to Brentford.
True. They don't get enough. That's one thing that's annoying about this is both Brentford and Brighton have not gotten the credit that they deserve.
Shout out to Brentford and Brighton, but specifically also Brentford. Like Brighton, of course, phenomenal. But shout out to Brentford, man. Like, they were on it. Okay. One thing sums this game up, and I don't know the numbers. Please, someone in chat if you know this. The kilometers run, whatever, the distance run. It was something like Brentford ran 14 or 20 something more kilometers than Manchester United ran as a team. And when you look at a stat like that, I don't know how. Are you there, by the way, Michael? You're frozen on my screen. Hello? Uh-oh. Did we lose him? Oh, no. Did we lose him? I hope we didn't lose him. I'm just going to refresh and see. Give me a sec, guys. I'm trying to make sure if Michael's there. Oh, yeah. Okay, his computer's frozen, so he'll be back in a second. You're going to see double me right now. But yeah, I think shout out to Brentford. What they did was phenomenal. Their game plan, actually, no, let's not talk about Brentford. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? For those of you listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube, you'll see that Michael's camera has just frozen. I think his computer just had a little bit of an issue. Give me a sec here, guys. just going to say no problem. We're going to go back. Sorry if you're seeing a bunch of stuff on your screen. But yeah, I think, what should we talk about? Not Brentford. Is there anything else we want to talk about before Mykal gets back? Yeah, in terms of the Chelsea thing, I'll talk about that because no one asked, but, you know, yeah, there we go. Thanks, Gus. Uncle Gus asks over here, what is Chelsea's transfer strategy? You can skip United. I think Chelsea, so personally, I don't know if... personally, I don't want Anthony Gordon as a signing. He's a great player. I think he's talented. Well, not great. He's very direct. He changes games and he does his best to take people on and beat them and change a game in a way that I think Tuchel had wanted since he targeted Rafinha first, since he's targeted and gotten Sterling now. So I think Anthony Gordon is a massive overpay. Fofana is a desperation thing where we're linked to him for like a world record fee for a defender, by the way, like 70 million or so. And I don't think he's a great young defender, but I don't think he's worth a world record fee for a defender. So I don't know what Chelsea's doing. We talked about it in the offseason thing where we missed out on so many different... Mykal looks different. Yeah, for those of you that are just joining, by the way, guys, our lovely co-host Mykal87, his computer froze. So he is just adjusting and doing all of that before he gets back on. So you're stuck with two of me right now. If I exit and don't show you my second face, I'm gonna mess up. I hear clicking. I think he's back, by the way. Can you hear me, Mykal?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. There you are, beautiful face. Okay, I was just going on a tangent about Chelsea's transfer strategy because Gus asked, and there's not much of a strategy.
I need to hang up the call though and join again because it's audio's bad. So give me a sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh wait,
but yeah,
taking it. Oh, we're good. We're good.
You're good. You're good on my end. I hear you loud and clear. But yeah, I don't know what the transfer strategy is, Gus. I think it's a panic thing at this point, and I think, you know, I was all for backing Tuchel with signings that he wants, but it's kind of becoming a little bit crazy at this point. I agree, Cynic. We were just talking about Anthony Gordon and how I personally don't think he's worth the money, Mykal. And Ignoble Cynic says that the Gibbs White, the fee that Wolves paid, makes Gordon's look reasonable. Exactly. I just don't think he's like that level of a finished product. But since Mykal is back, Mykal, are you okay with me talking about my thoughts on the Brentford game while you set up, and then you can join in?
Yeah. I'm ready to go.
You're good?
So go
okay,
for it.
cool. Yeah, so Brentford and United. Like I said, I think shout out to Brentford. I think they got United against the ropes and they went for the kill, which you don't see often with, like, at least, you know, I haven't seen a lot with teams that aren't expected to necessarily get a result. They get ahead and then they kind of just sit back and try to, feel out the game. But with Brentford, it was like nonstop. They were looking to just put that game to bed in front of their home fans. I think, you know, it's so easy to talk about all the things that went wrong for United. You guys know me. I'll be the more positive, like, not saying Mykal's not positive, but I will take a few positives and then because I feel like all we talk about, and it's true, is all the tough stuff that's going on with United. I think one thing that was a big takeaway for me was in terms of mentality. De Gea stepped up and said, I want to take the post-game interview myself, and he stood up and said, I messed up and that was my fault. That mentality, I don't think you see through many players in that United team. I think, you know, even the videos we saw from the fans in the corner in the away end who were screaming and yelling at the players, it was only like Bruno and Dalot, I think, and a couple other players standing there clapping, and De Gea apologized and put his hand up. But where's the rest of the team? Where's Cristiano Ronaldo? Like, you know, we're saying, oh, all the truth is going to come out and this and that. So, like, there's got to be the truth somewhere in the middle. Like, you either have given up on the team completely, or you're still trying to show that you haven't given up, but then where are you when you're going to apologize to the fans and stuff like that? Like, you are the face of the club at this time. Like, he is the biggest name they have there. He is the reason, like, the romanticism or whatever, the romantic aspect of him coming back to England and joining United was there. So it's just like that mentality. It comes down to the mentality. You can't sit here and tell me that United team is less skillful than Brentford. No disrespect to Brentford, but the skill is there. The ability is there. The mentality is missing and has been missing and will continue to be missing until something drastic is done. Mykal?
Yeah, the big takeaway for me is Erik ten Hag's response as well. I love that. I'm finally happy to see a lot of the responses after this game are not, oh my God, Ten Hag is the worst signing. Why did we make this him the manager? Yeah. A lot more is now going towards the people above him. And I think, remember what we talked about, I think it was last week's episode.
Yeah.
Where it was, I thought that Ten Hag wasn't going to be the guy who was going to be vocal about the squad that he needed and how he's not getting the support that he is.
Yeah.
Well, now we're seeing that he is being vocal, and he is saying that he needs these players, and he is saying that he needs to overhaul the team.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, seeing the fans do that is a key point, because I think that they're pointing the finger in the right direction now. I think that Ten Hag is the right signing and the right manager. I think it just needs to be, he still needs the patience. But the other thing to this is your point, Brentford came out and played a good game. Like Man United have now played two teams who have come out and played like it's their Champions League, and good for them because they deserve it, but it's not getting any easier because they have Liverpool coming up this weekend. So I don't know. Like, obviously, that game's probably different if De Gea doesn't have one of the nightmares of his life in goal. I feel like, as soon as United watch that first goal go in, it probably changes everything about that team. So, I feel like that's probably something that you want to take with an asterisk. Does that warrant it being a 4-goal game? No, not by any means. The rest of that was a shit show performance by Man United. And it was embarrassing to see a lot of the defensive lapses that they had. That midfield's one of the worst midfields in the world. Like, that just needs to be said. Like, that, you could salvage that back line even with Harry Maguire on it. Like, yes, Harry Maguire is a meme, but you could salvage that back line if your midfield wasn't turning the ball over every time one of the three people touched it right now. And I defended Bruno Fernandes week 1. That week 2 performance from Bruno Fernandes was still not up to his level. He wasn't the worst, but it's not what you expect of a player of his quality. McTominay has no business being on the field, and he was subbed on, which should show to every single player in that Man United squad that when Ten Hag decided to sub on Scott McTominay over anybody else that he has, that club's in dire need of help. Which we've seen that they're officially, I think they're making the official statements and bids for Casemiro within the next couple hours. So I think they said they wanted to finalize this deal Friday, so he's fit to play for him this weekend. I don't know if that's an immediate plug and play into that system, but
you'd think it would be better than what's going on right now, though.
Yeah, it's better than Scott McTominay, and it's better than fucking Fred.
Yeah.
So I think the annoying thing is that if you got Fred that played for Brazil and he played that way for Man United, you'd be in a much better situation. So maybe Casemiro playing with Fred and Bruno Fernandes, maybe that you have a all Portuguese speaking midfield who can have a little bit more chemistry. So maybe that helps. But good Lord, man, that team is just in such dire need of just assistance. And we found this tweet of players that Man United has, players that Man United has been linked to in the last 3 days. 3 days that they've been linked to. Christian Pulisic, I know that was a loan deal. They had a $160 million bid rejected for Casemiro, or for João Felix, right?
Yeah.
$160 million rejected at the club level. They didn't even get a chance to talk to João Felix. Casemiro's, I think that deal, if I remember right, was going to be $60 million if it goes through.
60 million euros, I think, was it?
They tried to buy Mateus Cunha for, I think it was $45 million. I don't know what that is in euros off the top of my head.
Yeah.
They made a $20 million bid for Munier. They made a $15 million bid for Jamie Vardy, who's 37, 39, 65, however the fuck old he is. But he did have a great performance for Leicester's game. They're linked to Aubameyang, who rejected them. He wants to sign for your Chelsea team, so I'd stay away from him with a hot fork. But Morata, they're linked to Morata, the money man himself. They're linked to Summer, which I rate the Summer deal. I think Summer comes in and he's the immediate starter for United. I think he actually knocks David De Gea out of the starting role because Summer is an amazing keeper and needs more attention. It's unfortunate that he plays for a Gladbach side, and people look at him and they're like, well, he's conceded so many goals. It was like, you need to look at how many goals when it comes to his stats, you need to look at how many shots he's saved versus how many he's conceded, because he faces like 300 million shots a season and he only concedes like 20. So Serginho Dest, which I actually rate that signing. I think that would be a good fit for them with his work rate and his offensive abilities. And then Caicedo as well. That's not including the Arakpo signing that they were also just recently linked to from PSV. So they also had they had an $80 million bid rejected from Anthony right before we started the stream. Like, I will say that it seems like they're giving Ten Hag the ability to now go get the players that he needs.
Yeah.
But I mean, 2 weeks before the summer window ends?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little bit too little too late to have any impact on this season. So
yeah, no, I agree. And of course, as with any United conversation, we have lots of input from chat. I just want to read up on a few messages here. Gus kind of echoes the sentiment in chat here, what we've heard from pretty much every United fan both you and I talked to. I know you guys know this, but we have signed a second choice CB, a backup left back, and a free transfer speculative signing in Christian Eriksen. I think this is something that gets talked about every time with just, yes, money has been spent, but on who and why? You know, there's been no clear strategy there.
I don't like I understand the meme of Lisandro Martinez, and I meme him from time to time too because he's small.
There's nothing wrong with the player.
I think there's a reason this player was recruited by more than just Manchester United. He was looked at by Real Madrid as well. Like, the guy can play. He can play center back. I think that he needs to get in a groove with the back line. I think having a suspect goalie behind you is also sucking. And the fact that he doesn't have anybody in front of him that he can pass the ball to with any confidence also
It's a really
sucks.
tough position to come into, man. And this kind of leads into what Ignoble Cynic said here in chat. Maguire is a limited player that is very good at certain things and not entirely to blame for the other defenders' issues all the time. That won't stop United fans, though. I think, you know, it was...
No, Maguire's shit.
Yeah, like... I mean, it's...
I'll defend Lisandro Martinez. I will not defend Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire does not deserve any defending.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it at that then. And then, you know, I think it's... Grabby Crabs, he said something here too I wanted to touch on. Would you want to stay at Barcelona, probably not get paid and chastised for front office shenanigans, or would you rather go to Man United, a place now where mediocrity and subpar performances with fat checks rule over? That is, like... such a common thing I've heard from a few United fans, that there's this mentality of these players just being there for the paycheck, just being there to grow through the motions. They don't have that desire to die for the club or to die for the badge. And the shirt means... And I know it's easy to be negative about this stuff, and there's always a few fans that want to take the positives out of it. But there's no denying that there's a huge attitude issue at Manchester United right now. And I think that's a really good point, Grabby. You see, you know, the De Jong jokes. De Jong's about to kick off with Barcelona, checks his phone. There's a clip of this online of a United fan saying this. Checks his phone and sees it's 4-1 Brentford, or 4-0, or sorry, 4-0 I think it was. It wasn't even 4-1. Or was it an own goal? I think it was an own goal. I don't know, whatever. Bottom line, you see the score against Brentford and you think, hell no, I'm not going there. So there's a lot to think about with this team, man. They're
That's
soft.
the thing is, I feel like they need, like, United is in this, and it's the ownership, you know, and that's again where we talked about it.
Yeah.
They're in this. We need to win now. We need to win now. We need to win now. Well, if you're in a win now state, you need to buy players that are win now players.
Yeah.
Like, if I look at this list of players, Pulisic, Casemiro, João Felix, Cunha, Munier, Vardy, none of these players are win now players.
Yeah.
Half of this list is for the future. Half of this list is past their prime and band-aid fixes.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Cavani even. I love Edison Cavani. He's not a win now player. You know, Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe he's a win now player, but he's 36, 37.
Yeah.
None of the players that they're signing are win now players. They're in this weird mix where they have a coach who wants to buy young and who wants to invest into the future. They have a front office who wants to buy players to sell shirts and to put people in the stands, and then they have nobody in the middle to make any sense of it. So I watched the Michael Naughton interview that he did about the consortium that he has that wants to buy the team, and he talked a little bit about their plans and what they want to do with the team, and how this is a team that deserves to be winning now, but they also need to make sure that they're stable for the future. And to me, that's a man who knows what he wants to do, and he makes sense. And to your point earlier, we look at teams like Arsenal and Liverpool and what they've been able to do. You know, Liverpool and Manchester City are clear teams that are buying for now. They're buying because they want to win, and you look at the player quality that they're getting because of that. Then you have teams that are like Arsenal, who are building for the future. They're buying for the future. But then you have United, who is trying to wear 6 different hats when they buy these players, and it doesn't make any damn sense because you try to put them all in the same squad, and none of it's making sense. You put that on top of the merry-go-round of managers that you have walking through the system that no one has any clue what they're doing anymore. You have players out of position. You have players that don't know which fucking foot to pass the ball to, on top of not knowing which position they're playing, which position there's in front of them, which position they're passing the ball to. You're gonna fail. They need to figure out whether they are a win now, we're contenders team, or if they are we are rebuilding and we need to figure out the future team. Once they figure that out, and once they have an ownership group that supports that stance, we'll get Man United back. Until 100%. Then, Man United's going to be the joke.
100%. Uncle Gus asks, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. Uncle Gus says, what do you mean by win now? Wouldn't a team trying to win now want Cavani, Ronaldo, etc.? I think that's what Michael's saying, is that there's no clear plan. They're buying players who kind of make it seem like it's like a win with these players now, but then they're also looking to rebuild United and buy players like Jadon Sancho and stuff. So I think there's just no clarity, is what Michael is saying. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, you also look at the players that they're letting leave. Like, if you want to be a win now player, is the selling Rashford to PSG rumor is that a win now mentality? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, we could talk about this for hours, guys. Like, and I know United comes up more often than anything in our streams and in the podcast, because of course it is one of the most. It is one of the biggest clubs historically in the world, but we do have a few other leagues we want to get to, and we're getting close to almost 2 hours, but we'll go a little longer because obviously we have some stuff we want to touch on. But let's fly through a little bit of the Bundesliga then.
We got to pay for the extra hour anyways. Might as well get the full
exactly,
thing.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Bundesliga then. So I think the first thing I had on here, and we can touch on each of these a little quickly unless you want to touch on something more in detail. Dortmund did well to come back against Freiburg. Freiburg got off to took the lead. I think they took the lead, and then it was Bino Gittins off the bench, Mukoko, and then Wolf, who actually Wolf is very underappreciated, very much. I think he shows up with big goals in big games and consistently, and he just kind of gets lost in that team. Thoughts on that, Michael? Great comeback from them, Dortmund mentality.
Yeah, Dortmund showed up. It was an exciting game to watch. They scored both goals within, I think, a 10-minute span too. So completely turned that game on its head, on the road nonetheless. So
yeah,
Dortmund's one of those teams that I feel like they're in a situation right now because of injuries that they're probably going to be struggling a little bit, and they'll probably end up third. Now that they're linked to Cristiano Ronaldo, who the hell knows what happens? And considering the injuries they've had at striker and forward, again, fuck if I know if that's the right fit for them or not.
Yeah.
But that's a team that impressed me, again, like you said, with depth and substitutions that came on and made a difference. So,
and a young team, 2 young guys, Bino Gittins and Mukoko, who take over in the league. So,
so fun game to watch, as a lot of Bundesliga's games are. There was a lot of drama and a lot of good games in the Bundesliga this weekend, but that was one that had a lot of people tuning in because you see Dortmund down a goal in the 70th minute, and you're like, holy shit. So
speaking of drama, Leipzig and Köln, FC Köln, soft red card. I thought that was really soft red card for Leipzig. Werner scores a bit of a fumble from the goalie, but I mean, he's back in the Bundesliga. We expected him to score. I don't think it was much of a fumble, actually. Give Werner credit. The fact that he had the confidence to take that shot after what he's been through at the last couple of years.
It was a fumble.
It was a fumble, but you didn't see him taking those shots. You can see his mentality. Being back at Leipzig, you see that, and I think Leipzig is going to be just fine. But a tough draw for them. Red card and only 1 point. He
looked really great. He didn't get to play the full game, obviously because he wasn't fit and in the team. But he looked really, really comfortable, which is saying something because, like I said, this isn't the same team that he left. So
exactly.
Really excited for what he's going to bring to that team and what he's going to be able to offer.
Do you think he puts up? Sorry to cut you off. I just want to get one yes or no. Do you think he puts up 20 goals?
No.
Okay.
I think they're in a situation where they have so many different people on that team now.
Yeah.
I think Nkunku is going to score more goals than he did last season because of having
another runner. So, agreed.
Yeah. So, because Nkunku typically plays more of a middle cam role, anyways. Werner up front pushing the back line. I think Nkunku's going to get more space. So, exciting team to watch. It's one of those where it is a soft red card. It's by the book red card because it is an elbow to the face that's up and out of a natural position. So by the book red card, which it's one of those situations where in real time you can see why that wasn't called and you play on. But the minute it goes to VAR, it's always going to be a red card because one thing the VAR takes out of context the the speed and the pace and the way the game is going.
100%.
Like in the flow of the game, you let it go. It's an accident. Shit happens. Blah blah blah. But the minute you go to the tape and you can see it in slow motion, it takes everything out of it, and it's by the book red card. So it is soft. It's correct, I'll say, but it's soft, and it changed the game tremendously. I think Cologne was really lucky to get a point out of that. Leipzig, I feel like, are a little unfortunate to only have gotten a point there, but I do have a lot of excitement for that Leipzig team. I think they're going to be a beast.
Agreed. Next is Augsburg. We had who actually got a good result against, actually a great result against Leverkusen. Leverkusen, they started their season off against Dortmund. That was kind of a tough game. Leverkusen had a couple of chances. Schick had a couple of good chances there, but they didn't create nearly as much as they did against Augsburg. Augsburg, when you look at the stats, Leverkusen had 68% possession, 24 shots, out of which 10 were on target, and they just can't score this season. What's going on with Leverkusen?
Patrick Schick, it's Patrick shit this season. This was his big thing, and this is why he got passed up by a lot of big teams, including Bayern Munich, when they found out that Lewandowski was leaving, is because he's just not consistent. He's a flash in the pan type striker who can go through and get you, 5-10 goals in a couple of games, and then all of a sudden he's a ghost for 5-10 couple games. So, like you said, we've memed this a couple times. I think it's Bayern Soonkin.
Yeah.
Like I think they're soon, but it's not right now. And this is a game that shows it. Like they don't have someone like Patrick Schick is not that clinical finisher. I think they go get somebody that can then bury those chances. All our FM and FIFA fans will know, like, you can't put up 10 shots on goal and only get a goal out of it. You gotta have somebody that can put those goals away, because there's going to be games where you only get 2 or 3 shots on goal, and if you still have that piss poor conversion rate, you're going to lose a lot of games.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple of chances that were kind of one-on-one, like in the box type stuff, where he's had it delivered. I think he's just off to I think he might be in his own head at this point, because it's like he feels the pressure of having to get off the mark here for this season, and he's been presented with a couple of chances. I
also feel like he benefited from a lot of having Florian Wirtz behind him, the creativity and the space that Wirtz eats up. So we'll have to. I'm reserving my judgment until we see a healthy Florian Wirtz back in that squad. Yeah. So, but right now they're not a good team. And then defensively, they're actually, granted, they did lose 2-1 here, but defensively they are still an impressive team. Yeah. Especially the way they play out defensively, but they still need help. And
Moussa Diaby looks exciting, but where's the product? That's a big thing for me.
He's the Bundesliga St. Max for me.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. Maybe a little less flashy, but about the same type of player. Final one, then. I think you can run away with this one. Bayern Munich defeats Wolfsburg 2-0. I mean, what I had on my notes was Bayern looks like, Bayern's Bayern. Like, they look good. They look well-oiled. The changes up front, everyone kind of expected Lewandowski leaving not to be the end of Bayern or anything, but there was... And you and I both actually, we've been, if you go back and watch our first or second episode when we talk about the transfer market and what was happening, we both shared the same thing, where Lewandowski leaving actually probably makes, as weird as this sounds, Bayern look
a better team.
I was going to say looks different attacking wise, but I'm going to just come out and say it. I think they're better because there's so many more options. Like it's more dangerous. You have Sané, you have Gnabry, you have Mane, you have all these guys.
The Ane brothers.
Yeah, the Ane brothers, all of them. And it's just such a fluid, dynamic front line for Bayern. Your thoughts on what you saw this weekend?
I wish I could find the picture of it, but there was a tifo in the Bundesliga, or in the Bayern fans, that said the Ane brothers, and it had the ANE, and then it had an S above it with Sadio's picture, and then M below it for Mane's picture.
It
was really funny.
That's sick.
And then apparently they both went over and signed it after the match.
Unreal.
But
how are you feeling as someone who has an affinity for Bayern?
It's such a good team right now, man. And can we all agree that Musiala is a good player? Can I stop hearing about how he's a flop and he's not going anywhere? Musiala is going to be the best player in the world. I tell you now, he's going to be the best player in the world. That was
yeah, that was
butchered. I'm going to get butchered online for that. But
I got you.
He's gonna be one of the best kids in the world. He's a phenomenal player. His ability on the ball, his ability to pick a pass. He's such a good player. He's fast. He's strong, and the Bayern genetics still haven't kicked in. By the way, he's still like I think 180 pounds. So just wait until the Bayern Goretzka genetics kick in.
He has a one-on-one workout session with Goretzka.
And so Musiala is going to be one of the best players in the world. In the next 5 years, he's going to be on the Ballon d'Or list. I guarantee you, put it on paper, bet your house on it, Musiala is going to be on the Ballon d'Or list in the next 5 years.
That's a big prediction. That's a big prediction.
He is a phenomenal player.
He's so young.
He's good. He's 19 years old. No, excuse me. I think he just turned 20. He's going to be on the German national team, probably as a starter. Let that sink in. The historic German national team, and he's going to be starting probably at 20 years old in a World Cup. He's one of the best players in the world now, in my opinion, and the only reason he doesn't get credit for it is because he is playing for Bayern on a team that has Sadio Mane, Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, and originally he was a winger. Now that we've slotted him into this midfield role, and now we have essentially two cams with him and Thomas Muller behind this back rotation of 3 forwards, it's almost like we're playing a 4-1-2-3 at this point, and you just have this fluidity up top of these 5 players in Mane, Gnabry, and Coman or Sané, on top of Muller and Musiala, who are all just making these darting runs, overlapping constantly. All these players can both use either foot. They can pick out a pass. They can score from distance. They can finish in the box. It's dangerous. And then, oh, by the way, you have Joshua Kimmich to clean up any mess that gets out of there. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have also Alphonso Davies, one of the fastest players in the world, who can mop up any mess, by
Canadian
the way.
Goat.
Shout out the Canadian GOAT. And then you have this solid, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but Matthijs de Ligt, he's at center back.
Yeah. I mean, might be a good, decent center back in a few years.
Yeah. So,
his mentality. That's the thing for me with Musiala. He's scoring these goals and he's just celebrating casually. And I don't know the guy personally. But he seems grounded. Like, this is it. The success of the team matters. Quick fire question: to get where he needs to be, who should he learn from?
Thomas Muller. That's he's got the best situation for him right now. He is in the best situation possible. He's learning from Thomas Muller. He's also learning from Joshua Kimmich. One of the things that I love about Musiala so much, watch a Bayern game and watch what he does when we don't have the ball. Active. He's 110%. He's running all over the place, and he can tackle to one of the best abilities on the field. He is phenomenal, and again, it's because of his physical presence that he has already. Like,
which
he's not a small player.
Going to grow even into more. Yeah.
So
exciting times.
I can go on this for hours. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of his.
So when are we seeing the Musiala kit in the background?
As soon as I can get one.
Yeah,
I'll probably get a German one more than I get a Bayern one. But
unreal.
That team, I don't at this point. And again, if I want to take bias out of this, I still think that Bayern's a little bit off the pace to compete with a Man City and Real Madrid in terms of Champions League finals. But I think that they're in that conversation right now where they need to be. They're fighting for that position. I think Man City is a little bit more complete defensively in terms of experience and solidarity. I think that Real Madrid has a little bit more fluidity in the midfield and going forward. But, I mean, we're there. We are there. So
cool. That is our Bundesliga wrap up there. Very exciting times ahead. No, it's good. It's good. Passionate. All right, let's move on to a couple more leagues before we head to the later part of the show here, or we are in the later part before we end the show rather. La Liga. This one is one that I kept up with a little more. I'm not sure if Michael, you had a chance to. We actually didn't talk much about La Liga. I know we did Serie A and like the others, but La Liga.
I only watched 2 games in La Liga this weekend. Cool, yeah, we're going to talk about 2 of them.
Shout out to Osasuna, man. Sevilla, they beat them 2-1. Osasuna did to start off the season. You could tell Sevilla's missing Koundé and Diego Carlos in defense. This is something if you guys haven't checked out the preview, the predictions podcast, we touched on. Yeah, Sevilla is a good team and they find a way, but those are 2 huge holes in your defense. So shout out to Osasuna for starting off with a bang, but that was they deserve that win too. Like Osasuna was good measure for that win.
This is the one that I didn't watch because there's other games going on at the time. But from the highlights that I saw, to your point, the 2 goals that Osasuna scored, there's just no back line on Sevilla's team right now. So it'll be interesting to see once they get Alexa Tellez and Isco full time. Be interesting to see if it makes a better team.
Yeah.
It's also Osasuna's I think first game back in La Liga, so that's always a special moment. But the highlights. I think Sevilla was lucky to get their goal, and I think that Osasuna was probably unlucky to have not scored more than two. So
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to the juicy one. Barcelona 0 and Rayo Vallecano 0. Rayo almost won it at the end. Falcao was offside. I was hoping, man, as someone who's loved Radamel Falcao since I was younger, I was hoping. I was messaging Zan United on Discord in the live match chat, and I was saying, imagine if Falcao gets this. Sergio, I think it was Busquets with a red card at the end. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was him. And
95th minute.
Yeah, and Rafinha was a ghost for me in that game. Granted, I saw...
Who would have predicted that was going to happen?
I saw Lewandowski. There was one penalty shout that was making the rounds online, and to be fair, I haven't really paid too much attention to it. But yeah, it's, we talked about this team more than any other team this summer, Barcelona, that is. And I want to touch on something Grabby talked about earlier. I mean, what they're doing with De Jong is criminal at this point, and they're accusing him of being criminal. But, I mean, it's like they did what they needed to by any means necessary to put this team together. And I know it's only the first game, but how sweet it is that it didn't work for them in the first game. Like you said, with Barcelona, it's something where they've done so much to put this team together that if they don't win decently big this year, firstly, financially, they're going to be devastated. And secondly, it's going to be all for naught. Anything you want to talk about there without going on a Barcelona tangent? Because we've talked about this team so much.
Yeah, we're not going to deep dive into a ton of Barcelona news, but this is kind of what we thought about when one of the things that we mentioned when they were signing all these names was, is this going to impact them because they're getting all these players and you're trying to put all these pieces to a puzzle together at the last minute. So I think Rayo came out and played really, really well. I think Falcao had a game like he was, 25 years old again. So he's a timeless wonder that everybody forgets about.
El Tigre.
But I remember when he was on a free, I was like really hoping he would come to Portland.
Yeah.
I was really hoping he would come
the
to
South
Portland,
American connection is there with some of the players.
Yeah.
Actually, Colombian too, if I'm not mistaken, right? You guys have a couple of Colombians there. Yeah. So I want to say I'm surprised, but I can't because I didn't expect them to have... I figured I slotted them as a 1-0 win, but Lewandowski looks like he doesn't know where he's supposed to be getting the ball from, which is annoying considering a lot of the creators that they have. As you said, Rafinha was an absolute ghost. Every time he was on the ball, it looked like he was trying to win the game himself. That balance we talked about with Luis Diaz, he knows when to take people on, but he knows when to play the team game. It was looking like Rafinha was trying to be the hero.
Busquets and De Jong were the only two pieces that really looked like they had any fluidity together. So it was a very, very interesting game, and I think Barcelona's lucky to have Ter Stegen in net too. So I don't know, man. I think I don't want Barcelona fans to panic yet, but that is a good warning sign for them. Hopefully
100%.
their alarm bells
obviously
are waking.
like I don't anticipate results like this week in and week out, but it was just interesting to start the season that way. Almeida Real Madrid. Almeida 1, Real Madrid 2. Almeida scored first. Shout out to them. It was a nice goal. Honestly, Rudiger looked kind of lost. That was the main takeaway from that goal. A great run in behind from Ramazani. It was only 6 minutes into, and they just started with that intent to get something on the board. But as soon as Almeida scored that goal, I said in the Discord, in the live chat, I said, it just feels like a matter of time. It's Real Madrid. And Alaba with a sensational free kick to win it. I think that was his first touch off the bench. But, they just find a way. And so, early advantage Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think in Real Madrid, again, they didn't really need too many pieces to bring in.
No.
Rudiger, unfortunately, showed that, he's not the
30-man shortlist Ballon D'Or Rudiger, by the way.
Yeah.
Like what?
It was a good game. Almeida showed up in the first couple minutes, and I think they woke the sleeping giant. I think Real Madrid came out probably wanting to cruise with what they had.
Yeah.
And then they realized that, oh shit, we need to play this game. So
Yeah.
I don't understand. For me, Rudiger Alaba needs to be the starting duo, and I don't understand why they weren't. But
Do you think Rudiger over Militao, personally?
I think so. I think Rudiger and Alaba need to start over Militao. I think Militao's a good option later down the road. I think he's also good if they wanted to go to like a 3 at the back situation. But or you can even move Alaba out to left back if you wanted to move Mendy somewhere else. But they have options now, and I think it's just about
finding the right mix.
yeah, we'll see what they're able to get.
It was interesting to see Kamavinga and Tchouameni too playing as progressively as they did. Like I know Kamavinga is a pretty silky player, and Tchouameni is more a DM, but we saw some box to box action with him at Monaco. But it was interesting how involved they were in each attack, and the future's looking bright, man. I think they recruited that midfield perfectly to let these guys learn from, the departing, well, not necessarily, well, maybe departing Casemiro, but, eventually Kroos and Modric. I mean, who better to learn from than those guys? Phenomenal recruitment from them.
Probably the best midfield trio
Yeah,
ever.
agreed. Okay, and then one last game that you watched that I didn't necessarily watch. Atletico Madrid versus Getafe 3-0. I think Morata scored a couple, was it, you said? Or
I didn't watch this game at all.
Sorry, you mentioned that the Morata was off the board and he was scoring.
Yeah.
So I think he had a couple goals at least. I don't know if it was 3 or not.
Yeah, the meme was that Morata has more goals than Man United this season.
Ouch.
And so I watched the game back in highlights. I didn't actually get to watch the game live. It looked like a pretty straightforward game. Getafe looks like a team that doesn't know what they're doing.
All you need to know for that is looking at the stats too. Getafe had 10 shots, out of which guess how many were on target? Absolutely 0.
Yeah,
so,
0.
Yeah,
I think they were all outside the box, if I remember right. So
and it's Atletico.
Yeah, Atletico it's Atletico Madrid. Like they're not going to change their identity a whole lot. So, which is one of the reasons that Simeone is really reluctant to sell a lot of the players that they're getting offers for. So, we'll see. They're a team that doesn't really. They're a good team. They're always a good team. They're always fighting around the top 3, but they're not a team that makes me go, "Oh, I want to watch Atletico Madrid."
Yeah.
So
I agree. All right, finally, we're going to talk about, guys, as we approach the end, we're going to touch on just a few transfers after this, but if you guys have any open panel things that you want to talk to either Mykal or myself about, feel free to drop those in either of our chats, and we'll try to get to those, but we just have the Serie A left to talk about, and then a few transfers, and we're going to end with who we think has won the transfer market so far. Moving into Serie A, then, Milan set the pace. They won pretty convincingly. I think it was 4-1 or 4-2 against Udinese, who, by the way, Udinese is a pretty good team, so I think 4-2 was a good result for Milan. They looked good, and it was kind of over to see what Inter would do in response, and Inter scraped that late goal from Denzel Dumfries to put 3 points on the board. But after the first match week, I personally think Milan looked better. If you were to compare the two, what would you say, Mykal? Not compare, but just touch on the weekend.
Yeah, I think AC Milan looked a little bit better. Inter, it struggled a little bit, which I didn't really anticipate they would. I thought they were actually going to come out and dominate, but the one thing I will say for AC Milan is they need to figure out what they're going to do with center back, because you can definitely tell that they were missing Romagnoli in their back line. So we'll have to see if that is going to be a problem for them long term.
And then the Fiorentina Cremonese game, I actually watched this one. I think, Cremonese did well. It was 2-1 Fiorentina. Cremonese scored off of, I think it was a corner, but I know it was a set piece for sure, after they had gotten their red card. And Radu, who, if you guys remember, made the mistake for Inter last year that cost potentially the Scudetto. I think it did. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
it did cost them the Scudetto. So he moves to Fiorentina and thinks that he's going to get another chance, to redeem himself. Did really well to keep Cremonese. He moves to Cremonese, and you think he's going to redeem himself. He did well to keep them in the game. And then it was just the weirdest goal. If you guys haven't seen this, please go watch the highlights for the Fiorentina-Cremonese game. It was a 95th minute winner from Fiorentina. It was just a looping cross kind of thing that ended up going towards the goal. Radu actually collected it, but fell into his own goal. His studs got caught in the net, and it crumbled into an own goal. And you could see his frustration, man. I think he punched the goalpost, and he just sat there with his head in his shirt, because it's like he moved to a team like Cremonese, with no disrespect to them, but he, it was clear that he was very, very much one of their better performers until that moment. And it seems like he's still haunted by that, these mistakes. And mentally, I don't know if it's going to be a Karius situation or not with him, but it's going to be interesting.
That's a good comparison.
It's going to be interesting. Anything you want to talk about that one, or can we move on to the Lazio one?
No, we can. I mean, that was the only moment in the game that would really cause for discussion.
So while I was watching that, a few of the people in the Discord were watching the Lazio match. I didn't get a chance to catch up on this one at all, but it looked like there was a red card each for Bologna and Lazio, and Lazio ended up with the 3 points. Is there anything you noticed other than Ciro Immortale from that game?
Immobile is just the guy's crazy good, dude. Bologna is probably a little bit unlucky to not have gotten a result out of this, but Lazio, they had to sweat to get this result towards the end of the game. I think once once it went to a red card for both teams, it was a big difference. But Immobile is just so good. He's just so good. It's crazy that this guy is, almost 90 years old and still scoring goals like this.
Ciro Immortale. Roma off the mark, 1-0. Salernitana made it really tough for Roma to show anything special. I think it was, like a 33rd minute goal from Cristante. Roma had 20 shots, but only 5 on target and only walked away with a 1-0 win. So scrappy result. 3 points is all that matters, but nothing. I was personally excited to watch Roma, their first game, but it was kind of a snooze fest. It literally almost did put me to sleep. So there was that. Napoli. That was a good one. They dominated Hellas Verona 5-1. Osimhen on the score sheet for them, which was nice to see. Just an overall great performance. That North Georgian kid, I told you, Kvarchkelia, I keep butchering his name, but he had a goal and an assist, and I think he's going to be such a bloody good signing. Shout out to Osimhen's celebration. If you guys haven't seen it, he was doing the crying celebration, and then it was funny because on the broadcast they zoomed to the crowd, and there was literally a kid almost on the verge of tears from Verona. So did you want to touch on anything on the Napoli one, or?
No, it was a goal fest. It was really exciting to watch.
7 goals in total.
Osimhen looks like he's back. So, and Napoli's getting Simeone from Verona. So I mean, not that they needed any more attacking power, but they're getting it.
And then the final game of that we wanted to touch on was 3-0 Juventus against Sassuolo. Di Maria looked good. He did. He very much looked good. And then Vlahovic with a brace penalty and a normal open play goal. Sassuolo was a good team. They statistically actually performed pretty well, but I mean, they never really, like Juventus did well enough to kill the game off. And 3-0 is probably a little more convincing, like that of a scoreline than it looks when you look at the stats. But I think Juventus is a team to watch. I think they'll make more moves, like Mykal and I have talked about many times. But there's nothing that I saw from them that makes me think they're in a crisis. But again, it's just the first match. I don't know if there's anything you saw or wanted to touch on there.
No, like you said, they're pretty. I think they're a team that's going to figure it out. I mean, they're currently linked to Depay along with
True.
There was one other player, I forget who they're linked to, but they're trying to figure it out, and I think they will. So
True. Cool. And then we just wanted to touch on a few of the transfers, guys, before we end here. So we're within the last few minutes of the podcast here. If you're still listening on Spotify or anywhere else that you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube, we're still here on Twitch. Both Mykal and I want to say a big thank you to you for episode number 5 here. We'll be back again next week for episode 6 if all goes well. If you guys are taking this in not on Twitch, feel free to join either Mykal's channel or mine for that next week. But yeah, if you guys have anything you want us to talk about before we head off here, throw those in either of our chats. But we just want to bring a few transfers to light that happened this week. So I think one of the big ones was Schürrle leaving Ajax to Torino. I think that's a pretty big one. A huge one in the Premier League is Mateus Nunes joining Wolves from Sporting. I think that's a great signing. I know Ignoble Cynic, I don't know if he's still in here, but that's a big he's a Wolves fan, and that's got to feel good for Wolves. I think it was a bit of a feeling of crisis at Wolves, wondering what's going on with with the recruitment, with their identity up front. I think that's a great signing. Is there anything you want to touch on with that, Mykal?
Portugal FC, man.
Yeah, Portugal FC continues. I know.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, he's a great, going from Sporting to Wolves, I think, if I'm being 100% honest, it's a little bit of a downplay in quality currently. But, I'm sure he'll fit into that squad and do really well.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see if he can keep up with the pace of the Premier League and English football, though.
Yeah, true. Very true. All to be determined. I think it's a hefty fee, too. I think it was 50 million or something like that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Nianzou, I know you probably feel certain not sentiment, but something to say on this. From Bayern to Sevilla. Is it a full transfer or a loan? I think there's an option to buy, right?
Yeah, it's a full transfer. I think it comes out to about 17 million US dollars.
Yeah.
They have an option to buy back at 30 million, I believe, up to 35 million if Sevilla wins La Liga or something weird like that. So basically 30 million. For me, it makes sense. We bought him when he was after he had a really good season.
Yeah.
He didn't really do very well for us in recent performances.
Mm-hmm.
You bring in De Ligt, who's a talent, he knocks him down the ranks even a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically send him out on a loan where we're getting a little bit of money now. Say he goes to Sevilla, he pops off, and we decide that we want to bring him back. Now we have him secured at a good rate.
I
So
I've read similar
it's good
sentiments.
business for me.
Exactly. I read similar sentiments from Bayern fans online. I think it's smart business. I think you watch him develop, and if it makes sense, you bring him back at a level where he's ready to contribute for a cheap price. And speaking of German,
Yeah, because I think the buyback clause too is up to I think it's 3 years.
yeah.
So I mean, if he develops into a monster at Sevilla, we have a good option to bring him back. So
100%. Speaking of German footballers who we've talked about, kind of a so far a wasted career, but we'll see if this rejuvenates it. Thilo Kehrer joins West Ham from PSG. I know this is someone you've talked about before. I think it's just nice to be able to say that he can possibly get some game time now.
yeah, I think he's going to do well at West Ham too. I think he fits into their system pretty well. He was supposed to be the next big German center back that was supposed to pop off, and then PSG bought him, and I was immediately pissed off about it because I knew that he was never going to get meaningful playing time at PSG. So a lot of garbage minutes for him, if any minutes. So I think he deserves more credit than he is getting probably because he has the potential. I think this is a good option for him to come in and show himself that or show everybody that he deserves to be in that conversation.
And he's probably going to start, right? Because I think they're probably getting him to fill in Issa Diop's departure, who left to Fulham. So I think there's lots of games for him to play there as well. So
probably.
We'll see. Stupinian from Villarreal to Brighton, another South American player that Brighton brings in. I think he'll be a good fit there. Charlie Masunda leaves Chelsea to Levante. This one is, if you followed his career, it's a tough one, man. He was signed many years ago and just has struggled with so many injuries. He's almost a part of the furniture at Chelsea. His older brother is on the scouting team. He retired at like 25 to become a scout at Chelsea. This Masunda family has like a weird tie with Chelsea, but all the best to him. Hopefully his career gets off and running.
You just know he's gonna go and win the Golden Boot in La Liga now.
Almost like it's almost like Jeremy Boga, when we signed him and then he went to Sassuolo and went off. But we'll see. All the best to him, man. Nothing but
Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
Tamori.
Yeah, there we go. Let's bring it on more. Sergio Gomez from Anderlecht to Man City. I'll be honest, this is one I've kind of slept on. I'm not sure. Like I
don't know much about it.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay.
I mean, I don't. Unfortunate for me, I don't get to watch a ton of Anderlecht or Belgian games. So, but if Pep's recruiting him, it tells me something. And if they're willing to pay the fee that they paid for him, don't be surprised if we start seeing his name a lot more very soon.
True. And then two more we talked about. We've already talked, so we'll just mention them again. But Freuler going from Atalanta to Nottingham Forest is an interesting one. And then, like I said, Emmanuel Dennis going from Watford to Nottingham Forest as well. I think Dennis is a phenomenal player. Not phenomenal, sorry, let's not hype it. I think he's a solid player, and I think he's shown that he can do it at the Premier League level. He looked bright when Watford were in the Premier League last, so we'll see if he can replicate that at Forest. And then Giovanni Lo Celso leaves Spurs to join Villarreal again. That's, I think, a good move for him. And
for all parties,
For all parties, yeah. And then Luca Pellegrini from Juventus to Frankfurt. Frankfurt obviously looking to...
that was one that doesn't make sense to me. Because he was such a good young talent, an Italian talent as well. I can understand a loan maybe for him to get a little bit more, but to just flat out sell him to a German team, it's a great buy for Frankfurt. I mean, but... and I hope that he settles in Germany. I mean, Italian players either are really, really good in Germany or they flop out really, really early.
Yeah.
But so I mean, he's 23 and he's a phenomenal talent. So hopefully Frankfurt makes the most of it.
Hopefully, but yeah.
And it's an immediate need too because they lost
Kostic,
that wing back in Kostic.
Kostic, and Da Costa, I think his name was. But yeah, I think decent flurry of moves here. Looking ahead, I think there's 12, 13 days left in the window. The big takeaway is United are linked with, I think, we've talked about
the
this.
world.
So we'll see what they do. We'll see if Chelsea makes another overspending panic decision. I felt like, Bowley was being a little more calculated, but now you're hearing 50 million for Anthony Gordon, 80 million for Fofana. It's starting to scare me a little bit, but we'll see. But lots of moves. And again, like we've talked about, I think this goes back to our first podcast ever. when you talk about the season, it's such an unknown because of the World Cup and how that's going to affect transfer activity and all of that. So, yeah, I think that was all we had on the slate for today. If there's anything from you guys before we go our separate ways for tonight, is there anything in your chat, Michael? Because there's nothing from my chat right now with open panel stuff.
No, sir.
No? Okay. Well, guys, we just want to thank you then for hanging out with us over here on Twitch for the last couple of hours here. That is officially the end of episode number 5 of the Talk Footy to Me podcast. If you
Transfer
are...
market.
Transfer market? What?
Yeah. Give me a winner and a loser
yes.
of the transfer market.
Right. We were going to do a winner and a loser.
No long-winded explanations here. Just
yeah.
One sentence and be done.
I personally still think Tottenham is the winner of the transfer market. I think they backed Conte, and Levy spending for Conte shows that he's willing to give him the reins for this next year and try to win something. Losers, it's got to be Leicester for me, man. Like, no offense, but they've lost a couple of players and potentially could be losing Fofana, and they've done nothing. So, for me, Leicester. 2 Premier League teams. How original. I don't know. That's it for me. What about you? Winner or loser? And it's funny because we never wrote these down, so this is straight from the heart.
Yeah, I think my loser has to be Watford, I think. It seems like granted they got relegated, so they're going to have to lose a couple players, but it seems like they're completely gutting that team from the top down. So I feel like I don't think we're going to see Watford probably back in the Prem for a while. I think this is their official we need to rebuild kind of moment, so that'll be interesting. My winners of the transfer window, it has to be Barcelona.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to hate it, but if we look at it subjectively, I mean, they brought in huge pieces, and somehow, some way, whether we agree with it or not, they managed to get them all registered and ready to play. So, again, I don't agree with it. I don't respect it. But
I almost call them losers because they've put their entire future at risk, but it's realistically not going to happen. But yeah, I can't argue that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
So I think they gotta be my winners.
Yeah, I can see that. Cool. But yeah, guys, if you're listening on Spotify and have made it this far, we want to thank you. Please consider downloading the episodes or following this the podcast as well, because that helps keep you in tune with when we're releasing next future episodes. YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, obviously, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss episode number 6 when that comes out. And over here on Twitch, man, you guys know how both of us feel about each and every one of you. You make this so much fun and interactive. And those of you that don't get to see us on Twitch, we both stream this every Thursday night, so feel free to join us. But yeah, thank you guys for the support, man. As always, enjoy the football this week. Get your questions ready or your opinions ready for next week, because we love hearing from you guys. And if there's anything you want to add, Michael, are you all on Apple Music, says Grabby. I don't want to piss Michael off, so I will answer this. There we go. I will answer this for him.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, Michael's working on it. So I got the YouTube stuff handled pretty easily, and then Michael ended up having to deal with the shit that's going on with Apple Music. Not anything against Apple Music. It's just a bit of a pain right now. So we're going to be working on that soon, Grabby. But as you can see in my chat, Michael's been kind enough, guys. Please follow the Twitter as well as our new TikTok. We're going to get those up and running. Michael, closing arguments?
Yeah, like I said, I'm working on getting us uploaded to Apple. It's a huge mess with registering IDs and users and stuff like that. So I'm dealing with them. I'm going to have a long phone call with them tomorrow. We'll get that done. And then, like I said, I am also taking on the TikTok account that is created today. So there's no videos on it as of this recording, but there will be videos and uploaded clips of that going forward. So you'll get to see some of those. Let me know what content you guys want to see, though. Like I said, I posted the Twitter in the Twitch chat just now. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it in the description down below. Spotify, it's also going to be added. All of the links is going to be on our Twitter, but it'll also be added to all the different recordings. So make sure you check those out. Let us know what content you guys want to see. H2 and I could sit here and talk for hours and hours and hours about things that we witnessed and what we want and things like that. But, we want this to be a community podcast almost. We want you guys to be able to participate and give us your voices. So let us know what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to hear us talk about. Let us know what we got wrong. Let us know what we needed to fix. Let us know what we needed, what your opinions are.
Other than me saying Aston Villa in 7th in the preseason prediction.
Yeah. But join our Discords as well.
Discords,
That's where we
yeah.
have a lot of our conversations as well.
Yep.
Especially in matches, you'll be able to see a lot of what we
Both of us are
go back
active,
and forth
yeah.
of. So
Yep.
those
Those
thank
are
you
linked
guys
down below in YouTube, by the way. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. Though I probably should add that to our all my links, by the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
remind me to make a mental note.
We
to do
have
that
an
real
all
quick.
my
But
links, guys. No OnlyFans there yet, but all my links is there, so
Yeah.
you can catch everything in one place. Moving forward.
But thank you guys for all the support. It's been amazing. It's been a ton of fun, and I look forward to keep doing this for you guys. Someone asked me the other day if we're going to do a World Cup episode. The answer is yes, but we're waiting until we get closer to the World Cup because there's no point in doing it right now.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing a World Cup episode soon, and then we'll also be doing things like we have interviews that we're working on getting done and working out the timings on those. So we're working on football directors. We're working on coaches because I know a lot of you guys said you wanted to hear from coaches and what they're doing. So we're working on getting coaches on the team or on the podcast. I'm working on current and former players as well. So a lot of exciting information, a lot of exciting events coming up.
Exactly.
Soon.
And things like tier lists and stuff, we'll be doing that as well. That's a great idea, Grabby. Grabby says you should make a community Reddit group. I can take a look at that. I can do that for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's all you.
I'll do that.
I
Yeah,
suck at Reddit.
Yeah, we've it's nice. I want to say we both have kind of the things we work on, and you know, we have a really good partnership in that sense, but we're both the same. Like, you go to Mykal, you go to me, and it'll get done. Like, you know, so feel free. Like, you don't, if you're from my channel, don't feel like you can't reach out to Mykal or anything like that. Always feedback to both of us is much welcomed. But that is it for this episode, guys. Much love to you, Mykal. Much love to you guys in chat. And I'll do the sign off here for you guys. Of course, thank you for watching from Mykal and myself. Thank you for the support. Take care. Much love. And we'll see you guys for the next episode.
Okay, bye.